Andol ka ke mo fa seda.
Hi, welcome once again to Talking in Stations. I'm Matt Arall, news chief for I almost blew it, for the Matani.com. I was news chief at EN24 at one point, but that was a while ago. And today this is Talking in Stations, and it's an EVE show for EVE players about what's happening in EVE Online. We have a great show lined up tonight, and we have our friends from the usual panel of experts that we pick from, and special guest today we have Asher Elias from Goonswarm, and we
Hey,
have
what's going on?
Grath from Pandemic Legion.
Hey.
And today a little something you might notice that's different is Dirk McGurk is off screen. He's on a trip. And let's actually get to know our panel. We'll start with a drunk Canadian.
All right, yeah, you guys probably seen me before. So I'm Drunk Canadian. I'm in TNT, and I'm the Sky Marshal for TNT.
That's right. He's also a TMC streamer. And another streamer from TMC is a familiar face for many of you, and that is Nystrik, and it's nice to have her back.
Hi guys, I don't play EVE, so that's a thing. But I play other games.
Actually, Nystrik has a past in Test Alliance and also in Goonswarm, so she's familiar with both cultures and can speak a lot about what's going on these days. And then Dirk McGurk down here is cloaky today, but you want to say hi, Dirk?
Hey, what's going on? It's Dirk McGurk from the Open Com Show, member of some random corp in Pandemic Legion.
All right, let's start with Asher Elias, and then we'll go to Grath. Asher, can you tell us about yourself?
Yeah, I'm the 15th to 23rd best FC in the Imperium. I'm glad to finally get on this show. Usually you invite me on a Friday, I turn you down because I got to get those club pap links, or else Spins will kick me out of leadership. So it's nice to be here for one.
You also have a great podcast, The Asher Hour, right?
I do. It's on my SoundCloud at Eve_Asher.
Yeah, that's worth listening to, especially if you're an aspiring FC. It goes into a ton of detail about what kinds of things to consider. Actually, some of the things we're going to talk about tonight, you'll find a ton of that on the Asher Hour. And familiar to all of us, one of our favorite guests is Grath. Welcome back, Grath.
Yeah, I don't have my own show. I just whore myself around to all of your shows, and it's easier that way.
Hey, why?
Less production overhead for me.
Totally. Why push the buttons when you can just show up? I mean, you're invited everywhere.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Okay, so let's start the show. Today we're going to talk about Saarinen and the battle between what's known as the Money Badger Coalition and the Imperium. Both are now stationed inside the same system, basically sitting on top of each other, and so it's a unique situation in EVE where you have so many hardcore PvPers all in one place, kind of staring each other down and trying to pick off, people here and there. So we're going to go into what those battles are like, but more importantly, we want to talk about where we are with ship doctrines and the meta and capitals. A lot of changes happened, including citadels, which allowed PL to put a station, or MBC to put a station across from the staging system for the Imperium. So it's kind of an interesting situation. It's totally new. So actually, Grath, why don't you start? Can you tell us about putting the station down? You think it's a citadel, right?
Yeah, sure. There's a couple of them in there now. Like MC has one in there now. I thought Test might have had one in there, but there's definitely other ones in there. Yeah, there's a few of them around
Darkness
on the grid now. Yeah, and generally they allow you. I like the idea of what they're going to lead to, maybe with you being able to remodel and defend your space, make it your own. You see that some ways, the way like Horde guys have them anchored on gates to protect ways in and out of their space. I think you'll see more and more of that come up. I think they're awesome. They've allowed us to put a beachhead in an extremely hostile system and move in. They would allow. They're allowing actually, Imperium members to do the same thing up around Tenal or wherever the hell it is. They're dropping their citadels up near Venal or whatever, trying to get back into the back end of Declan. Like they're really good engaging gameplay.
So it's kind of like a forward operating base for them. And
For sure, yeah.
in your case, you guys are putting them up strategically. I haven't heard too much about that happening.
Us? No, we're not doing that.
No, Horde
The
or
Imperium is, the Imperium is strategically trying to use them as forward beachheads, and I guess retake parts of Declan or
no, but in Saranen, you guys have said that you guys are using them kind of strategically, like where you place them near a gate or near a station, stuff like that.
Sure, yeah. You can in 0-0 with proper drag bubble placement, you can actually suck somebody off of a gate if they are silly enough to warp gate to gate without a ping. You can suck them off of the gate directly or Citadel.
wild.
So
Guilty
Yeah.
as charged.
yeah, I mean it's an awesome. Everybody's complaining about it. I think that's a perfect mechanic. It's your space. You should be able to build, a gigantic fortress with a sign hanging on the front door that says "fuck off," and they did. That's amazing.
I love that. The kind of stuff that people come up with as new things are introduced, and this was a huge expansion, Citadels, that had not only all these big buildings, basically space cities, but also had capital changes and stuff like that. What's going on with you guys, Asher? How's it? Can you give us a report on Saranen?
Sure. But I'm not the guy to talk about capitals because we aren't using them. There's a lot of capitals around us, but we don't have any of our own anymore.
Well, you know how to kill them.
Yeah. That's kind of the interesting thing was before the capital changes, you just set up the slow cap ball, and you had, once you got over a certain number of archons, you were essentially invulnerable, more or less, without the kind of massive response that was like BTAC-R level. So we, once the changes happened, we were just looking at it and saying, this is something everyone noticed. The fax machine was obviously the linchpin or the sort of the weakest part of the chain. If you can kill a fax machine, you can start threatening higher levels of capitals. So originally, it was just PL and NC Dot really focusing on Saranen. And when that was happening, we were rolling out Hurricanes. And because it's low sec, it can't be bombed. The Titans can't use their little laser across the sky thing. We were trading really effectively, volleying T3s and then killing fast machines to the point where it seemed like it became pretty clear that capital escalation was something that PL and NC Dot were going to have to think about really carefully.
Yeah,
and
it
it's
was
evolved since
always. It'd be instantly obvious the second they released all of their proposed changes that, everything revolved around triage. Like Ray Charles can pretty much see that once you start dropping those things, you are. That once all your apostles dead, everything else on the field around it dies. And like there was an idea at first, maybe like that was spitballer. Well, maybe they'll make local tanks good. No, that didn't happen. Local tanks are still dog shit. So as soon as the apostles are dead or the Minocalas are dead, everything else around them will explode in a big ball of flame. Luckily, we were smart and like we had a guy named Foul, and Phalanx 3 built tons of carriers for us. That's his whole thing was capital acquisitions for all of our dread caches and stuff like that. And so everybody in PL pretty much had an Archon, like 600 Archons. And it was pretty simple to just say, okay, patch day, everybody put a triage mod on the Archon. Now we have 600 apostles. Good job, us. That said, the loss rate for a few days there was kind of unacceptable. The burn rate, that would have been untenable for anybody. With losing 3 or 4 or 5 a day. And yeah, so things had to change.
I think that's pretty fun though. It's like a ray of hope for subcap pilots and noobs that are like, hey look, I can get in a hurricane and kind of kill capitals. That's fun.
Yeah, no kidding, hurricanes.
That's not a thing that was possible before, and I fucking love hurricanes.
Yeah,
They did say, they said they wanted caps ships in space more, and they wanted them to explode, and both of those things have happened.
That's
a lot.
exciting.
It's not like it was just Hurricanes were dominating the faxes. You were trading 550 Hurricanes
Yeah, for sure.
for 15 faxes. But it was a trade that we were willing to make.
But
Yeah,
I
that's
can't
what-
think of a time in history when that was even like something that was considered. Like when
Yeah,
I
it
think of
wasn't
old,
really.
like you were like, why would I fucking do that? That's stupid. Like if
Well,
I
it was
can't
like
fight
the,
it with capitals, I would just sit back and do nothing.
The battle there where Christopher Wow and PL bumped off the station. What would we actually trade in that one, Asher? Like 600, 700 Hurricanes, but we still won the ISK war.
Yeah, because we lost like 20
Yeah.
apostles in the fight or
lost-
whatever.
I think we lost 560 Hurricanes, and we killed 12 faxes and like 10 dreads.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah, I think it's funny
Has it been clear, though, who's been getting the best of these things? Not that it matters, but is it a trade-off back and forth?
Everybody wins.
Yeah,
It's
it's
a
kind
weird
of
rule reversal.
Eve wins.
Oh,
yeah.
Dirk,
So
give me a
it's
hug.
kind of weird, right? Because like to an alliance that has been flying really expensive ships for a really long time, when someone brings up the ISK value of a fight, it's kind of hard to take it seriously. Like we had a fleet doctrine called Aristocats, which thanks Shadu, fuck you. We used it twice. Ever. They were 1.2 billion a piece for these fucking Lokis, yeah? And we used it twice. And I mean, like, nobody else is gonna field fleets like that, right? No, like, you don't have dudes rolling around. Well, generally speaking, you didn't at the time. But like, for the longest time, nobody really fielded an ISK value anything close to us. So like, it stopped really mattering. It's like, did we walk 80 dudes to 500 and own a whole bunch of those 500 dudes? Yes. Then who cares what the fuck happened? Like, I don't really give a shit about anything else. I fly, 6 billionist paladins in the, well, not paladin, golems in the 30-man gangs and shit like that, just to see how many of them I can kill before I can either get away or explode.
We loved
So-
it became the Declan. It was like until it was going crazy. Grathas
Right.
and fucking Declan get
Yeah.
every Titan, every super.
Luke
See how
Pinata.
quickly we kill him.
Yeah. Yeah, and so for us, we get a fight. It's a good fight. We kill a whole bunch of fucking dudes, and we're happy. And then on their end, they get a fight, and they, like
High value
the Imperium,
targets. Yeah.
high value targets. They dropped a whole bunch of them. Exactly, like we build 100 billion in Faxes and Dreads and shit like that. To them, that was an amazing fight, and so
To be
everybody
fair,
kind of came out
I think
happy.
in the past you guys would field the fancy doctrines and you would win the kill war and the ISK war usually.
Yeah,
I mean,
sure. Like,
we're pretty good
now,
at that.
now I don't think it's I don't think it's as possible to do it on a large scale as we used to anymore. I think you will take bruises. The idea now is whether or not we can tank the bruises that we take.
Well, it seems like you guys, along with NC, have gotten a huge sum of money, so it should last for a while.
There is a tank that we keep in the Fortizar in Saranin that I swim in, and it is filled with fucking money, and I backstab that
There.
bitch every morning.
A big tank of milk.
Yeah, it's of isks, and it's fucking awesome. Like
How-
massive props to
how much-
Manny and Killa for all that money that they got.
How much money did you get?
I don't know the exact, because I don't get to actually play with our money, because otherwise I'd fly more Marauders than I do
I'm
in
gonna
ways
say
that are
giving
bad.
Grath money sounds like a terrible
Right, I
idea.
got my own money, and that's part of like. But I stopped even caring after we passed the trillion mark. Like that is, I mean, we already had money. We weren't exactly known as the broke dick warriors of fucking Eve. We were known as fairly wealthy, and then to just get a gigantic fucking cushion tossed on top of it was pretty sweet in
People are
actual raw
saying-
cash.
People are saying that 12 trillion has been spent on the war so far, or given out. So
I wouldn't be shocked.
You got to, if that's an accurate figure, PL is a pretty big cog in that wheel. So them getting over $1 trillion is not at all surprising.
I don't. From what I understand, a lot of people got paid around the same. I think they spread the money out even, and we didn't, as far as I know, like try and get top billing or anything like that. I think people just got paid in general.
Mercenaries are not new, but the weird thing I've never seen before in this war is like we'll give you 20 billion a week just not to fight at all. You don't
I
have to come
didn't
fight
know
with
that
us.
was a thing.
I-
Many people
yeah, I
got
hadn't heard
paid
about
to
that either.
participate. I didn't know they got paid to sit on their hands. That's
White
exciting.
Legion, White Legion got that offer, and other people took that offer.
Wow.
So they paid some groups to attack and some groups to stay out.
I think it was based on if the group would be the kind who would maybe swing against us, they'd say, oh well, we probably can't hire them to work for us, but we can at least bribe them to not fight us.
It's kind of
So,
like corporate
I've never seen
welfare. Isn't it? It's like a subsidy.
Or it's just like welfare.
Corporate welfare.
Yeah, I've never. I kind of like it really. Like I was always a big fan of. I mean, we are corporations after all. I like we get hired to do a job. I always like that kind of idea. I think it's kind of neat that somebody paid somebody not to fight. That sounds boring-ish, but more power to you, I guess. The war was short, so you didn't have to get paid long, I guess.
Yeah, that's the only unfortunate thing about that, right?
Like, I'm serious. I said this last night. This war is technically over. Like, Matani can make as many speeches as he wants on Sunday. I've met the dude. I've hung out with him. He's a good dude, but it's over. You lost. We took your space. Like, everybody that attached this whole we came to destroy Goons Forum, like, nobody sane maybe ever said that, because you can't break an out of game alliance. Like, Goons
It's been over
Forum
3 weeks at least. At least
Yeah.
it's been over 3 weeks.
Yeah, it's there's no way to kill an alliance that exists out of game, like, like Test or us or Goons. You're never gonna actually kill them. If fucking 6 dudes log into their forums for 2 years, they can rebuild themselves in a way, and you can't ever stop that. Like, but
Were you on the
got-
Oven side, Grant? The last Oven side?
No, I didn't. I wasn't on it. I listened
I mean,
to it a little.
Pro
bit,
God
but-
was on there saying that NBC was going to camp Goons until the organization broke.
He also
isn't
said
that
he's
just-
a pro, a god, and a legend.
But that's
So-
also like that's kind of part of the war. I mean, if you look at Goons, the way they used to win wars is, there's the first phase, which is moving in and getting a foothold, then taking the Sov or pushing them out, and then the last phase is the Hell Camp, right? Which, with all the NBC still being in Saren and trying to camp, like the war is, I guess phase 2 is over, but phase 3 is in full effect, in my opinion.
I
it's
think
a-
NBC's
people
already
will get bored.
some of them already started moving out, actually.
Yeah, people are
Yeah.
going to get bored. That kind of thing isn't going to keep up. I mean, I think about so many alliances that have blipped off the radar and come back. Like, I think of immediately AAA, who have gone away and come back after being hell camped, 6, 7, 8, 9 times now? I can't even
it
count.
I invaded them every fall with Shadoo for 4 years in a row, and I have no
Like
idea how many
clockwork.
times. Yeah, like
It's like
in
summer camp.
November, we were fighting in catch every year. It was a thing. And
But they're
I
back now, and they're going to keep doing it. And it's the
Sure.
same thing with an entity like Goons. Like, you can hell camp them, but you're going to get bored. You're going to want to do something else. You're going to want to fuck with somebody. And if you don't get your line members doing anything, they're going to be like, I'm bored. What do we do next?
we shook you guys. What's gonna fall off fell off, right? Like,
Right.
everything that's left is going to somehow Weekend at Bernie's on through it all and keep
Unironically,
going.
trim the fat.
Yeah, I mean, like, the alliances that we're going to leave will leave. Like, no offense to the alliances that are left, but they probably don't have a really active, motivated leadership. Because, I mean, this game that y'all played, I don't know if it's been fun for y'all, but it sure as fuck's been boring as shit for me. And I like to play for fun, so I just go out and die aimlessly and retard shit all over Losec right now, and I don't really fuck with the camps or the fights at all that much.
Seriously, that's what I'm
yeah.
doing. I got
Yeah.
killed by Suetonia tonight.
Yeah.
What
Is he
about
still in Snig? This motherfucker joined my corp and has never once logged into IRC, never posted on the forums, never done anything at all past his application
Well-
thread. I'm about to purge him because he's the most unsocial motherfucker I've ever met in my entire life, but he streams like every week.
well, there
Like, how
is
can you
Talking
talk to all
about
these people?
you do
Yeah.
collect celebrities. I mean, you just got one of the bigger ones, Dirk McGurk.
Yeah,
He's
and
too-
Shadoo
Suetonia's
used to
too busy
post
making
collect
pickup
FCs,
lines.
and
I
we got
forgot
them all.
that they did that. I forgot
Well,
Snake
the best
collected
part
those.
about Suetonia killing me is my overview bug, so I had no idea I was dying. When that happens and you can't see like your health going down. And I was streaming at the same time, so like, yeah, it was pretty good.
Sindel was my first streamer that we ever picked up, really. And then we got Nick Fuzzy, and then it went downhill from there. And now we've got everybody, including Dirk, who doesn't go in ops because he doesn't get pings.
Or fight people
Who,
apparently when
me?
you see them in local.
I've been on
I'm
plenty.
kidding, Dirk. I'm kidding, Dirk.
I'll
Don't
get
be
in there.
sensitive.
He'll get in there. Give him a
He
chance.
was-
However, I do know somebody who sounds a lot like Suetonia. Busy playing Madden.
Oh,
Oh wait, no, me? Oh
no,
yeah,
not
oh,
you.
No, I am busy with playing Madden.
well,
You know, I
anyway,
heard the new Madden has advertising in it. Like,
right,
after you
we're-
pay $60 for the game.
we're not going to Madden. We're not going to Madden. We'll come back to you.
Wait, hang on. I actually want to disagree with something Grath said a minute
Sure,
ago.
yeah.
That the corps that stay behind don't have active leadership or strong leadership. I don't remember exactly how he phrased it, but I
I'm
mean,
talking about the alliances, not the corps necessarily.
The
like-
alliances that left had what he was saying had maybe not the strongest leadership.
No.
no,
Actually,
he's
I
saying
was saying
the alliances
the
that
ones
stayed.
that
I think.
yeah, the alliances that left actually have a more independent streak of an active leadership. I don't really get
Consider it.
off my lawn having the most
That's
amazing
ironic.
leadership
Yeah,
structure.
wait, do you consider FCON to have strong leadership?
Yeah,
For
I don't
sure.
agree with
You seem to-
FCON or SMA.
I didn't say good. I said
It's
strong.
ironic to
and
me
active.
that we're talking about independent leadership when you guys created a larger coalition to take out the bigger coalition, right?
If you're in your buddies and you get in a fight and there's 6 of you and 12 of them and 2 of your friends run away, yeah, maybe they had independent leadership, but that isn't showing a good quality of any sort.
I just know that Graf
Yeah,
used to pick on FCON, right? That was your favorite
Yeah,
target.
for sure. That's
Yeah.
was our- every January, like clockwork, we go find FCON wherever they are, and we camp for 2 weeks, or however until we get bored and they stop undocking. My favorite kill is the dual tanked Sin that they undocked to try and fight us one time. That was amazing. Got through its shield and it had an armor repper. It was great.
So you guys are very nomadic in that way. You're kind of following, the buffalo around.
Yeah, well, you can't over farm an area. Like once you,
I don't know. You
can only fight so
You
much.
ate the hell out of Brave.
Yeah, we probably leaned on that one a little too hard, and we've
Tragedy
done
of
it
the
in the
commons right
past.
there.
Like,
Well, I think there was a
But we
strategy
moved-
to it. Weren't you trying to break them into submission so they would join you on doing contracts? Because
yeah, but we didn't have to break them. Like that wasn't even part of the deal. Like, okay, so how it went down is Rick Hoover liked fighting Brave. We all liked roaming them like in small groups, but Rick Hoover generally actually liked fighting Brave. It was fun for him. They'd form up. He'd go in and just murder everything in sight and feel great about himself because he fought fucking Brave. Meanwhile, Elise was actually trying to get them to hook up with us because that would have been what we learned from the first time we made friends with Test is fucking, first of all, Shadu fell in love with new players. He is so happy to have anything that didn't know what the fuck it was doing playing the game, so he could just explain the whole world to him. It was
That was me. I went
Yeah,
on a
he
fleet with Shadu once, and I was like, Shadu, I'm in a hurricane. He's like, this is a Tengu fleet. Come on, let's go.
and we realized at that point that we are really good working with new players, but we are not really good working with the leadership that new players tend to have around them because those people are stupid and they don't like us making their players smarter. It seemed because they always got fucking butt mad at us when we told them, like whenever we tell people like something that somebody said in their leadership was bullshit, their leadership would of course get mad at us, but it was bullshit. It's fucking wrong. You don't tell them that. They're new.
yeah, but I think like Elise, I think he was getting told like, we know what you're doing. You're trying to meta us, and we know all about that. So
Sure.
We
that
don't
was the
trust
thing.
you.
But he really wasn't trying to do it. He really generally wanted to we wanted to pay him. We wanted him to get paid with us. We could do amazing things. In fact, we could probably attack the Imperium with him. And yeah, it didn't work. They didn't believe us. Or at least the one that did believe us went on vacation or got sick or got a divorce or some shit and was gone for 3 days. And the rest of them fucked the whole plan up. And yeah, it was great.
we know how that ended, and not very well.
Yeah, big
But
ball
actually,
fire.
but they're back actually, and they're living now in Delph. I think they're actually bluing up the little goon squad that's come back with DJ temporarily. While the DJ's group, I think it's called is it Low Tax or $10 bond?
Yeah.
Gets settled down there, but they're going to be in that little Thunderdome in Aquarius. I think that's where they're landing. How do you feel about those guys, Asher? Does that mean anything to you, those guys?
No, I mean, it's good for them. DJ obviously wasn't, going to come back and play under Matani. Like there was too much enmity there. They seemed like they got along well enough in person out of the game, but once DJ was very upset, particularly about the comic book. Like he mentions that a lot.
The comic book. Oh, that's where the betrayal story was told about Bob?
Yeah, there was and DJ, who was an employee, I think at the time it was made, was upset that he wasn't credited in the book as for what he felt like was his contributions.
Were huge from
Yeah,
somebody who was
I'm
playing at the
not,
time.
I'm not denying that he didn't contribute. I'm just saying that he was an employee of CCP at the time, so I don't think they could have done it. But there were that was something that got mentioned by him a lot. So anyway, whatever. He spun off Corp. They've got 20 dudes. They seem like they're having fun, and that's great. I'm glad that they're enjoying themselves. I don't like Thunderdomes personally. I think you should fight over something that actually matters.
Yeah, me too.
What happens?
Something
what
with meaning.
happens if you do fight over something and then all your ships are alive and you promise everyone that you were gonna die and they don't want to fly back? Is it okay to Thunderdome?
I'm not talking about
Self-destruct.
within your fleet. Yeah, I'm talking about a situation where people are basically blue to each other and that they won't attack the things that matter, like Sov or Moons, but they'll just
it's play
they'll
fighting.
Just joust. Yeah,
I
exactly.
understand.
I think what you miss about that, Asher, is that's how they act towards one another to keep content on a daily basis. It's just a different form of what you have now. Imagine a world where you can, on Tuesday, if you're not, under fucking invasion, you might go roam out and fight the TNT guys, just skirmish around, scrap around. But the second that fucking NC Dot comes knocking on your door and creates the first fucking timer, you all fucking gather up together and form Voltron and rape the shit out of NC Dot.
Yeah, I
Like
don't think
that's
that's
kind of
long-term
how that
sustainable.
goes.
I understand what you're saying. I just don't think it's sustainable. You know, like that fighting people builds anger. Like you're gonna get and FC's talking shit to each other, and it might work for 3 months, 6 months, a year, but I don't think it's a long-term stable arrangement.
Interesting. I actually think that's one of the fountain core like guiding principles from all those groups that have always lived around there. They don't always work together, and I mean this is like fucking 10 years now. They don't always work together, but if there's an outside threat to their way of life, they do 100% work together constantly to fuck you up. And then once you're gone, or once you're not a threat anymore, they go back to beating each other's ass.
Well, I mean, maybe it's like communism, where communes still exist that people really like to live it because it's that's something that works for them. But it probably didn't work on a big scale. I mean, you saw the other side of it with Snuff and Shadow Cartel, where they had that arrangement, and they couldn't help each other from within 6 months they'd gone back to.
They hated each other an awful lot before the
That
arrangement.
wasn't really arranged. That was there was a lot of animosity before that happened.
They don't like each
Right.
other. They still don't like each other. Like, I'm surprised they did it to them and not us, because Snuff and us also do not get
Oh
along.
yeah, you guys are
So
different.
I really appreciate Shadow Cartel taking that bullet for us. So it's really good, nice guys. Because I'm sure they would have
look
fucked
at
up with
TNT
it.
and CO2. Like the thing that caused a lot of that drama there, and they were allies, was TNT beating them in the Alliance tournament, and that's all it took.
Yeah.
Maybe. I guess maybe. I mean, like, I don't know. Maybe I'm used to different people, but yeah, I guess it could be a
No,
thing.
the TNT and CO. Just correct me if I'm wrong, Joe Canadian, but there was a lot of hatred between those two alliances, right?
Well, a lot of it stemmed
I
from
don't
the
think-
Alliance tournament, and then the
None
other
of
part
it
was.
stemmed from the Alliance tournament.
Are you serious? Because when
Are
they,
you serious?
dude, that got brought up all the time after you guys left.
You guys were both from TNT. That's why this is kind of a
Yeah,
disagreement
like
point.
Dirk left after the Alliance tournament, right, Dirk?
Yes, I left where
Did
I
you-
collected my ship skin. Yes.
Did you
Yeah,
not?
nobody got those because the entire Alliance tournament team left.
You did not like anchoring in a tournament?
Oh, I didn't,
You mean Magooing?
Magooing,
Magooing.
yeah.
no, I didn't care about that. Knowing guys and CO. Well, considering we went to CO2 after that, I mean that's where my corp went to after the Alliance tournament. But I don't know. I never heard anything like that. Everything that I heard that was between CO2 and TNT basically revolved around space. CO2 wanted more of Tribute, and TNT was taking some of it because of what was going on with the whole reshuffle leading up to Fozzie Sav. And then stuff related to a corp that had been left and or been kicked out of CO2 that was then taken into TNT. This was
Well,
all
maybe the
high-level
Alliance
stuff.
tournament thing is something that just came out later as like
Can-
the straw that
Maybe it's a
breaks the
flashpoint,
camel's back. Yeah, like it was just like it was the ITI thing, the space thing, and the Alliance tournament thing. Like those were the three big things that we had spoken to them directly about towards the end, and that's all it caused for like that huge hatred between
Man,
TNT and
if you
CO2.
read
If I had
the,
known it was going to go down like that, we totally would have unanchored against CO2, not won, and maybe they wouldn't have, turncoated.
don't most teams win when they don't anchor? We just
Can
got
you-
Political sacrifice.
No, they fly out of the arena.
Can you imagine CO2 still in this? But before we go to that, can we just be inclusive and tell people what Magooing was?
of course.
Dirk?
Well, okay, so look, TNT was not this was like their second Alliance tournament, in a row, the last 2 years, and the doctrines that we were running were just basically, anchor up, so we would anchor up, and if the guy who was the anchor got killed and didn't say anything, then people would just not know what to do because some of them didn't know what to do. But
Well, what was that one bad fight where?
so
it was
at least
Daniel got
Randolph.
tackled?
Well, Daniel got tackled or whatever. So he wasn't moving. But anyways, but at least Randolph, who is somebody we knew and like somebody I would talk to, kind of behind the scenes, being like, "Come on, dude, you don't need to dump all over us. We know we're not Camel Empire or anything." He joked. I think he jokingly came. It was either him or Fozzie now that came up with Team Magoo or whatever.
And you guys would
Doing
just.
it again
just
this
like-
year,
As
so-
in Mr. Magoo, who's blind and can't see what he's doing, kind of a thing.
But the funny thing was, you guys actually had a lot of success with it.
Yeah, they did better than a lot of other teams who didn't anchor up, actually.
Two top 10 finishes in a row, which I know is not saying a whole lot, but you know what? There were other teams who went out earlier, and we were pretty happy with the fact of being top 10, especially when you look at who the other teams are, who were like 9-1.
Yeah. No, it was good. That was.
And we were in it because we just wanted to be in it, which is what I recommend to anybody out there. That it's just fun being in it. You're not looking to win at the same level unless you are willing to put in the same level of effort that goes on behind the scenes of those teams that are in, let's say, the top 6.
Is that why you're mad you didn't get your skin?
No, I'm mad I didn't get my skin because I think Wibla's got my skin.
Anyway, it was a magical time. But let's get back to Saarinen, because we want to actually move this to a conversation. Go ahead.
I want to point something out that a lot of people have maybe missed about attacking the Imperium. 0-0 was always kind of empty except for one particular corner of the game where 40,000 people had amassed themselves and their playing habits. And you lived in this little fucking pie-shaped wedge from 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock on our little circle of Eve, and you never really left there except for maybe once a year you'd all pour out and fuck someone up. And now that we have shaken off something silly like 34,000 people or whatever has ejected its mass from your fucking carcass, those people are settling in other parts of the games. And you're seeing increases in some other alliance, or in the case of like FCON, who's not a small entity, they just moved fucking south and took up space and started all over again, which is, much as I hate them and like to beat them up, super impressive. Good on them. I'm sure they suck some dick to get in there, but I mean, at least they're in there, right? Like, that's a thing already. These groups of all these people that have been hoarded up there are now like spreading themselves around the game and repopulating it in other places. There's people that live in Fountain for the first time in a long time, and they're not all one fucking group. They're not even like just two groups that, like in the case of BL beating the shit out of Test or whoever the fuck was over there, Brave, and then dying because of it. Like, it's a bunch of little different groups that are over there, and they don't all get along. There's a bunch of shit going on in the south. Even the Russians are starting to disagree with each other. Holy fuck, it might actually turn into a game here shortly if we're not careful.
I will say that it's really exciting to look at the map, like as someone who I haven't really paid a whole lot of attention to it. When I look back at it, it was like you had like 6 or 7 big masses and that was it. And it's really fun to see new and exciting. Like, there's old people on the map, and it's interesting to see old names pop up that I haven't seen in a long time. But there's also a lot of new stuff, and it's exciting to see a lot of smaller entities popping up. Like, who's this? What are they going to do? Who's that? What are they going to do?
Who in the game is best placed to farm these new groups that have split off now?
You watch your whore mouth.
Well, no, I mean, I wanted to ask. I mean, we're not throwing that whole idea of the blue donut, and well, it was never a full donut for those people who are asking out there.
It was a blue coffee stain.
Well,
top left.
We're not throwing that idea of a stagnant nullsec out there only on the Imperium, though, right? Because I mean, when you go back and you look at things like the agreements that were in place,
blaming it all on y'all.
But let's be fair about this. At least let me try to match your man voice, by the way. A lot of the people that are actually leaving other places are actually going into Goonswarm. So Goonswarm is actually kind of steady because they're getting a lot of people who are doubling down on their beliefs to kind of stick with the bigger group. Then
That's actually a solid play. I called it at the start of the war. Goonswarm, the Imperium can't exist like it did anymore. You can all join one alliance and functionally defend your Sov, but having 5 alliances trying to defend 5 different alliances Sov and under the systems is untenable.
And what's funny is CCP Fozzie weighed in and said, well, if you guys do that, we might take a second look at those mechanics, and kind of warning you, like, if you're going to become a big blob again, we might find a different way to take you apart.
Yeah, that was like within a day.
That was the whole point, right? The whole point was to make big blobs not be a thing, right? That was part of the things they really wanted to push and change. So,
well, remember, Fozzie said that they would look at, little fake alliances to get capital bonuses. And I think the group that holds stage right now has the alliance has 3 members. So they say one thing, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen.
No, definitely. I know what you mean.
But I don't think Fozzie will have to touch, like, even if you were all... If I don't know, I feel like even if the Imperium was all in one alliance, this still would have happened because of the condition that it was in when the attack happened. There was just so much asleep and not around and not giving a fuck. That
people thought we were bigger than we were. Like, they looked at the active members. Like, PL doesn't have farming alts in the alliance. There's the active number of members wasn't
No, we don't have that
indicative-
anymore. That's not real. Stop. That's not
Uh-huh,
us. We don't
yeah,
have that.
right.
No, legitimately. So Elise sold that to X Death. He actually, and the last small portion of it was given to Vince fucking Draken, and that's not us. We have nothing
Uh-oh.
to do with that.
Secret's
In fact,
out.
because when Boat
So
left,
what subsidiary
Boat
alliance
left
is feeding
to
PL now?
manage- When Boat left to manage bot, or when Boat left, it was the better managed bot because we had dudes farming dudes in bot and their supers, and here we are having Faffer who still ran bot for Vince in PL. So they just fucking left because it was easier on them that way and they don't have to deal with all the bullshit. We don't have bot no more. You can fuck it up. We do. We kill those dudes all the time. Like no big deal. But we sold it, we sold a bunch of the space to death for payments over a series of time. And the move we made in the South, right after Phoebe hit, was to move to where he was and protect him so that we could get our last 2 fucking payments, because if he had gotten purged from space, we wouldn't get shit. So we sold that to him,
the
and
out clause.
then the actual alliance itself got sold directly to Vince Draken, and we don't have nothing to do with that shit anymore. I don't give a fuck about a Renner.
Well, either way, you guys don't have ratting alts in your alliance. You don't have industry alts in your alliance.
No,
They're
we have
somewhere
dudes
else.
that do wormholes. We have dudes that do wormholes. We got a lot of dudes that do wormholes, I think. But we also
Right.
have like a lot of dudes that do like Lenny counts officers. In one block of time, last time I checked the count, Leonard had killed 42 officers over his career in Sniggerly. That's a lot. I've never seen one in fucking almost a decade of playing the game, and he's killed 42 of them. Like, dudes just make their money the way they make their money. If you check my losses, I do all my money making from pretty much in Snig. I die frequently in Tech 3 cruisers. I've lost more Tech 3 cruisers to NPCs than players.
Aren't you afraid
I know-
you'll get booted for a bad kill board?
No, I'm okay with that. I don't care.
It's not
we're not
Moa.
even like that.
I know a number of PO players who have carrier alts elsewhere. Like I mean,
Sure,
it might not be
yeah.
everyone, but it's certainly a thing.
No, yeah.
My whole
for
point
sure.
is that the numbers in the Imperium were not
Yeah.
indicative of our combat strength. We could field at best 1,500 people. This was before CO2 left, and that's about what we've been able to do throughout the history of the game, except like a super her for 6 VDT, which was basically victory lap.
Yeah, you
It-
dicks.
6 VDT was the Fountain War. That was the last battle of that war, and that was the biggest one on record at the time.
Yeah, and so you have us fielding relatively consistently, say 1,500 people, and then the Money Badger Coalition CFC 2.0, they came in and they even if you looked at just not player count but character count, after CO2 left, we had 32,000, and they had
Yeah.
64,000 characters.
Sure.
So just in character count, they were double our numbers, but in active PvP accounts, they were probably double our numbers too. So it was, yeah, even if we'd been one alliance, I don't think there was any way to win it.
Right. Yeah.
Well, it's like all
That's
the-
shed.
all
The
the
nice
people we
thing about
lost
the
and
NBC
everything,
though
too.
is you see the numbers from that have already shed. Like it's way down from the peak that it was, and it will drop even more soon. Like everybody knows it's only a matter of time before we're done with all this bullshit, and Waffles will probably be done with all this bullshit before we're done with all this bullshit because they've always been no standings first.
I'm gonna say that's kind of Waffles' thing.
Right.
Plus, the big
so
thing with the
I
Imperium's numbers at the time too is that we've been living up in Declan for so long. Like, look at SMA that got so bloated with ratters and miners.
Well, yeah.
That,
Yeah.
like, when the whatever Grath had said about the shaking the fat off the corpse or whatever, like we lost all our ratters and miners pretty much once we lost this up.
Well, hell,
But
there were PL ratters in Karma Fleet that left after the war started. Yeah.
True story.
That's funny.
About I can't remember his fucking name, and I always get the corp confused. It's either Busa or RKK, but right after Veil of the Silent fell, I got a guy that comes to me and goes, "Hey, is Tess taking Veil? Because I need a favor." And I'm like, "What?" He goes, "I run a reaction farm and I want to keep my moons." I was in whoever lived there, either Bastion. It was Bastion, I think. So. I'm like, all right, how many moons are we talking? He goes, well, I have 245 towers. I was like, go fuck
Whoa.
yourself.
Whoa. So
I
basically,
go-
he was like, I just want to live in test and make money and have them have none. Is that cool?
Yeah.
You're
Oh,
doing
By,
that?
by the way, I own all the moons in Vale. Is that cool?
Yeah. So I go, and he was willing to pay. I don't know how much he makes, but he was willing to pay $100 billion a month in rent. So I go to this test guy. I'm like, who are you talking to? And I'm like, let me see if I can. I don't know what I could possibly fucking do for you for 245 goddamn moons. But anyway, the guy's like, the little test Diplo is a he man moded me. He's like, yeah, we're gonna pretty much need permanent blue standings forever. And I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, as long as he wants to keep his 245 moons, we just got to stay blue with you. And you can't, like, shoot us. I'm like, that's probably not going to happen.
Sounds like somebody doesn't have 200
I'll just tell him
moons.
to get rid of the moon. I'm going to free him from the shackles of this fucking farm is what's going to happen.
It's almost like you
We
need
don't do him
allies
a
to live out
favor.
in Nullsec.
That's awesome. All right, so can we talk a little bit about ships? Because there seems to be, I've been told, there's a whole bunch of new stuff that came in with Citadels. It's not related to actual space cities. We're talking about, new doctrines that are, being used. Normally, we don't see a lot of these doctrines because most of these fights are done in nullsec. But since it's lowsec, there's different sets of rules that people have to consider. Like Asher, why don't you tell us about some of that? What's different about fighting in lowsec?
Yeah, well, we've already talked about hurricanes, which are really great. If you have a lot of them, they're a great low-sec doctrine because, I mean, their big disadvantage is they're so bombable. They have a big sig radius, almost as big as a battleship, and they have just slightly better than a tanky cruiser in EHP. If bombs sneeze on them, they die. So they're a fantastic low-sec doctrine. We've used them in null, but the idea is you probably don't want to bring them to a big fight where there's gonna be bombers set up. The other thing
credit for Goonswarm ever using hurricanes, by the way. That was entirely me.
Oh, I'll put that in the logbook. So the other thing that can hit them is that the new Titan Doomsdays, where they slice across the sky. I don't know the names. There's so many of the new ones.
It's a lance,
but
just call it
the
a
lance.
lance.
And then
You
the
get the
cone
lance,
one.
the sickle, and the bosonic field generator, the big fucking gun. The big fucking gun is the cone.
I'll tell you. Yeah. So that one is. Those things can really mess up a hurricane fleet in nullsec. But if you're willing to stay in low, which obviously we are for the time being, hurricanes trade incredibly well because you insure them, and you get like 85% of the cost of the ship back if it dies. So it's a really low cost doctrine. We only paid out $300 billion in SRP this month for hurricanes. So
And they've lost
really,
a lot of hurricanes, so it's like staggering that that's all you paid out. Have you thought about the irony of if you had only switched to hurricanes back when you were fighting Snuff over the tech moons, you might not even be in this situation because y'all would have fucked them up with this many hurricanes. Like they would have had some gruesome losses.
We didn't have people were not energized about that war, and you guys coming at us, it got us a lot of new people more active or more energized.
Plus, you're all in one place now, right? You
Oh,
were kinda
sweet!
scattered.
See, that's a mercenary service performed. I'm gonna bill you.
Yeah, that whole Snuff war, people weren't jazzed about lowsec. It was a strange, new, and dangerous place that we didn't really know how to use and how to fight. So it was hard to get take up in that war. So that's why we were using Macarials. Like we had 150 of them, and that's a good size for a Macarial fleet.
If I was talking to anybody else, I would you guys are underutilizing a huge feature with Citadels, right? And I say this to you running the risk of getting my side fucked, but Citadels allow for instant clone switching.
Yeah.
So if you live in a Citadel, you can have one clone in the Citadel and then the clone that is one you're in. There is 0 time or cooldown penalty between jumping back and forth between them. So currently my clones in Saranin are a crystal clone and a slave clone that I can just switch back and forth as often as I want depending on what fleet type we're in.
Right. You might not know this, but if the Citadel is reinforced, you can't jump out of the clone. Like I'm gonna lose a set. I'm gonna lose a set. Yeah, I'm gonna lose a set of mid grades when you kill one of our Citadels.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So
that's cool though. And I mean,
Okay, yeah, there's
if
some
the
risk.
Citadel is destroyed, you lose everything that's in it, both like the clone in your head or whatever.
Right.
The
I thought
clone
you had a
that's
week to
there.
get it out. I thought you could go there and jump out, and the week it was reinforced, but that is not the case.
Yeah, no, it's done. As soon as it's reinforced, you can't get to it at all anymore. I knew that part, but
But the interesting
yeah.
extension of that is that now you're kind of fitting your actual character, right? Because you can actually put
Yes.
different
Oh,
implants
it's
in
a
them.
great chain. It's awesome. It's
Yeah.
a huge, great chain.
yeah, I've always for some of us that's the thing. Like you have all the fitting slots on your ship, and then you have 10 fitting slots in your head. And if you really want to fight at I guess your peak or whatever, you will use all 10 of those slots. And if you don't, and somebody else does, you're more probable to lose the fight. Probably.
Well,
I
another
would say.
little bit to it is I haven't used learning implants in Asher for maybe 2 years because I fight in null too much. I get potted too much. Even plus threes, it's just too much money. Eventually, when you're getting potted 3 or 4 times a day, so with the Citadels, you can just have a set of learning plus fives, jump into them at night, jump out of them, when you play the game the next day.
Like
You don't even got to go at night. You can just, you can hop in and out 10 times a day. Like you want to go on and off, you hop out of your plus fives and go in whatever, like your Zor implant plus threes or some shit. But
Oh yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome.
it's probably the
That's
best
pretty
mechanic.
cool.
It kind of
jumping
lend.
back and forth between clones the other day just for fun. It was like ship spinning. but then I have to turn my training back on.
Oh, that's right.
I did the
Oops.
same thing for 2 days. Felt
I lost
bad,
a
man.
week.
That's not
I
even
lost
that
a week
bad.
once.
I did that for a week.
Yeah.
That you guys have only stopped training for weeks. I've done it for like months on end, and people are like, "Why are you training anything?" And I was like, "Shit."
It's almost 9 years that I have never not had plus threes
my
in
God.
grass head and never missed a skill train. Like never once. Even before they had the queue, when I had to get up at 3:30 in the morning, I was that dumbass that got up at 3:30 in the morning.
Set an alarm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm up.
I was the other dumbass that did that. And actually, so you're not taking any skills out of your character, by the way. This is a little sidetrack, but I'm wondering, like, if people are purists about all the skill points they earned, keeping them in that character, or are they extracting them to sell them?
On Grath, I haven't touched, but I had I
So
had 3 accounts with 3 characters on each slot that are all skills trained and stuff like that. So, but the other 8 characters, I have definitely run through a juicer. I bought a Titan with it actually. I made 140 billion in 6 hours selling skills on the market from my alts. I melted 3 mining alts, industry alts, and then I melted down 240 million skill point characters down to like 80 and 60 million respectively, and bought a Leviathan.
Some fortunes were made. But you are sacred about Grath. His skill points are intact.
Yeah, I've
'Cause
never
that's-
I won't use an injector on him, and I've never extracted anything from him.
That's pretty interesting, because that's a huge thing about injectors. People thought like you're going to lose that, that every point that you earned, that history that's built into that. I mean, you
Yeah,
were
the little guy in your chat is like mining. What the fuck? I had a full industry alt corp. I could build anything from Tech 2 cruisers, Tech 3 cruisers, super capitals. I was like, I don't know, a few hours off of station construction or whatever, 5. That was the last one I picked up. And yeah, I had all that stuff for years, and I just ran them through a juicer. Called it skull mining.
All right, so back to ships. The thing is that the Hurricanes are doing an amazing amount of damage on the Imperium side against Caps and also against T3 ship. So as a counter, what is PL and NC changing into? Their doctrines are morphing now, aren't they?
They try to have it. What do you think
Yeah,
about
well,
them,
we
Grant?
can go with some things that. So there are certain doctrines that are known to do a really good job at killing battle cruisers in general, and Abaddons are one of those doctrines. Fun fact: you can get an Abaddon up around 900,000 hit points. Those are fun.
Wow.
Yeah, it's disgusting. If you have the bonuses right and you have the fit right, it's like 930,000 hit points or some shit like that. And Abaddons pummel any battle cruiser that exists. There's just none of them that stand up well to that battleship. It's one of the few things it does well. If a battle cruiser is in weapons range, it's in an Abaddon weapons range, and that's never a place that a battle cruiser really likes to be. Other things we've done is like I think they're talking about a couple other newer doctrines that are more disposable. Like Hurricanes hurt. There's no way to avoid that much massed firepower from those ships, and they have newts and utility highs and stuff like that. So it's never gonna work out great. So continuously flying, billion-esque cruisers and fucking billionist battleships against it is an effort in futility, and we've never been really like one to kind of be on that. So they're going to start seeing probably some lesser expensive doctrines that are good at dealing with what they are fielding. There's a lot of things that kill Hurricanes. You just have to use them all.
We've also started using Harpies because of the new fighter mechanics with carriers. They're don't act like the old fighters. It's a Caracal fleet against them with rapid lights, and they were one squadron of fighters, which is one volleying Caracals, and because of there's like an invulnerability mechanic as the fighters are killed, where it takes like one tick before you can apply damage to the next one. You'd have Caracals just shooting tons of missiles and not getting any damage at all. on these fighter squadrons. So we went back to Harpies, which our guys love because Harpies are super fun to fly, and they have a really tiny sig, so they can actually tank a volley from a fighter squadron.
It's funny.
Well, you're saying that invulnerability occurs. What if it's another fighter within the same squadron?
As soon as
Yeah,
a fighter
so look at
dies
a fighter
in the squadron,
a fighter
just,
has
like,
a circle
takes
around
time.
it. Yeah, and it's got like 12 little dashes over its head if it's one of the main fighter types. Yeah, and every time it loses a dash, that's one fighter. So
Right.
and every time it loses a dash, it does less damage, and has and so. But what he's saying is every time you take a dash away, there's like a server tick between the one you take away and the next one before you can apply damage. So it's
There's
actually
like
one of the
screenshots of it where people are doing like 0 damage.
yeah,
Oh, yeah,
Like,
well,
just
it's
one of the
trying to volley these things, and it's coming up as zeros and then like a 1.
We had caracals. We had caracals where like there were like 35, 40 caracals on the kill mail, and only 5 of them actually did damage to the squadron. Like that's how tough it was to actually apply damage to it when we primaried one.
Yeah, so it doesn't, and I know it feels like it might be a bad thing, but you're not going to be able to fix it because I think the game is based on server ticks, and there's just certain things you can't ever fix like that. Like people bitch about not being able to point shit on a gate because of fucking server ticks and et cetera, et cetera.
Well, what you could do is you could just have in all 9 fighters multiply that HP by 9 and make it 1 fighter. But I don't think they want to do that because they don't want to make them just totally bombable like they used to be.
Yeah,
Well, plus
yeah,
then you'd have
exactly.
the problem of like as it goes down, it would have to decrease in damage.
Recalculate damage, which could be
Yeah.
bad
Right.
too because you'd have more damage. So anyway, it also helps. It's not beneficial for you to focus all of your It's not beneficial for you as a fleet commander to call a target for your fleet, right? Because you are wasting energy. I don't want to like lead you through this because you are not my enemy, or you are my enemy. But like, do you understand what I'm saying here? Like,
Well, I was just going to say,
Tell us
if
more.
you're going up against fighters, wouldn't it just be better to free fire,
like
That's what
there
we
knowing
we
that
have-
you're
have the
probably
Harpy-
going to get overlap anyways?
The
Yeah, you
Harpies
just
have 4
sort by
guns. We
range
split
and
them
have
into 2. We split them into 2 sets of 2 guns, and then we tell guys load a fighter overview and just fire at fighters with 2 different fighters with 2 different guns. So yeah, we've already
feel
gotten
like-
there.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's probably more efficiency you can add to that if you chose to. That would make the job easier. And I think that's something that this patch brought that people don't get is everything now requires more mechanical skill than it did before. Like from Titans down, like everything now requires. You can't just. Like, the only ship that doesn't require mechanical skill is Dreads, and Dreads suck fucking dicks anyway, so who cares? They are absolute dog shit
Tell
trash.
us how
Everyone
you
thought they were
really
going to be
feel.
really good. Everyone
yeah.
thought
I
they were going
thought
to be really
I thought the
good too.
dreads
Yeah,
with the
everybody
Hydro
calls
guns were
Dreads
not
be-
the worst.
No, they're fucking dumb. The second you push that button and make it flash green, your shit is dead. You cashed out, it's gone.
But I keep hearing from people out there that CCP
Yeah.
just keeps dumbing down the game. I mean,
No,
you,
no,
you
well,
keep
no,
hearing
so-
that, but
yeah,
something
well.
tells me that they don't actually get behind
Yeah.
the controls of any of these things.
So the thing about Dreads is they're like the apostles, the marauders or whatever, like 2 are the same way. Now whenever you push the button and make yourself flash green, you can't move. You will be jammed by a single EC300, so you won't be doing fuck all for the entire time there. And then you can't be helped by anybody else. So it's just your pathetic ass local tank that you get to just run your tank while you die because you can't lock because now they took away your E-war
Wait.
immunity.
The Dread has pretty
So-
bad local tank, but the Apostles, man, those things have really good tank.
It's still really disappointing when you're like, you've got like you look at what's jamming you, and it's like 2 EC300s, and you're
So
like, what the fuck?
Marauders aren't immune
Yeah.
to E-War anymore when they're in
Nope.
Bastion.
Nope.
Ah, my Kronos is useless now.
Yeah, it's fucking bad, bro. And it's not like you will actually get Falcons that can't jam you, right? Like you'll have a Falcon on you, and then here comes a fucking stabber that dumps out some EC300s, and you're like, well, fuck, can't lock now. Because the stupid E-War drones are so retardedly broken. It's insane that they're
Because
that
I fly
fucked up.
like expensive Kronuses like your golems, and I've been using that, and now it's kind of useless to me.
Yeah, it's bad. It's bad that you can get tracking disrupted and stuff like that now. It's not nearly as strong. Like if they max tracking disrupt you or whatever, it doesn't really cripple you in a Kronos, so it's not as bad. If they tracking speed do it though, you're probably
By the way,
boned.
chat, I've got a Kronos with A-type invulns and X-type armor reppers for sale.
But yeah, so a Titan to fire a Doomsday requires mechanical skill. There was a video of Bakayuki trying to boson a goon fleet right after the patch hit, and
I
it took
forgot
him like
about Bakayuki.
He's fuck him. He's
I know.
so
I forgot
no.
about
Grad,
him.
Grad, did
though.
you hear about his Phoenix? Were you around for that?
Yeah, for sure. I wasn't around. I wasn't there when he did it, but I got to hear about it directly after it happened. It's not a smart thing to do. And the words were, "Don't worry, I got this." And he lit a signo.
hold my beer.
Well, I mean, to be fair, so this was actually kind of a weird scenario. I was there. It was basically Boat and I, right? And I'm always the cautious one, and Boat's always the one who's like, "Yeah, we can do this, no problem. Let's go."
That doesn't sound like Boat.
Yeah, exactly. and so he lights the signo. We had someone, scan him. Is what they called where you scan the modules, ship scan him. And so we knew he was actually packing a pretty good tank. We plugged it into PIFA and saw that he could tank like 80k EHP a second. And so he hit that signo lit, and Boat was like, "Oh, this sounds like bait. They're just going to warp in an Abaddon fleet and shoot us, and this is total bait." And I'm like, "Yeah, let's just do it. Let's go for it. We can win this one, Boat, don't you think?" And so we just decided to go for it. And what's that?
It wasn't bait. It was just Bucky.
I know. Well, we
Also
didn't know
starts
that at the
with a
time.
B, though.
We didn't know that at the time.
Too good.
Well,
True.
that thing actually had a really good tank. We neutered him out immediately, and it took us like 3.5, 4 minutes to kill him. His signo was almost down by the time we killed him. So if he had one injector instead of two A types, if he had an injector and an A type, so he could have kept that A type running, we wouldn't have killed him. But
Yeah,
he
maybe.
didn't. So thank you, Wacky.
So,
because it was Bucky.
so Nodrak's saying that Bastion gives you 95% E-War immunity. Is it the same with the Siege module? So you do get a boost to it. It's just the
You
drones
get a
are
bonus, right?
overpowered
Yeah.
right now?
I
The
think Brad
EC
got jammed
and-
once by a Hornet DC-300, and he just hasn't let it go since.
It hasn't been just once. It's been like 6 fucking times now. Like it's gotten to the point the past 4 times it happens. I got so fucking mad. I micro jump drived away and went the fuck home and just docked up. I was so pissed. It's like, and it's only the EC-300 drones. I've had the big
So it
ones,
sounds like
the
a bug,
600s
then.
get launched. Those fucking things have been broken forever. You can have a 1200 like fucking sensor strength. Dude will launch one EC-300, drop it on you, and you're like, oh shit, I'm jammed.
Maybe they're bugged.
for half an
They're
hour
attempting
jam.
to jam a lot more or something. Like
Yeah.
maybe
It
that's,
sounds like a bug more than anything because, I mean, 95%, like if you're
Well, it's been a
not
bug
getting
for
jammed
like
by
fucking
Falcons,
7 years now. Yeah,
But if
it's
you're not
been a
getting
bug
jammed by Falcons, I mean, an EC-300 shouldn't touch you.
Yeah, exactly. It just tries to jam you like once every other second or some dumb shit like that. So
it's
it
supposed to
automatically
be once a cycle, like once every 15 seconds with 1.5 jam strength. So
Yeah,
it
it
shouldn't
doesn't-
be
it's
that
not that
much,
at all.
but
It's obviously ticking faster, and there's
you can and actually if you so anybody competent that ever uses EC-300s again against you will recall and resend them if they don't get a jam cycle off on you.
I
which-
think they declared that an exploit. I think that's not allowed
Well,
anymore.
Yeah,
it's
but how
been
do you know
happening
that's
forever.
an exploit though? Like unless
Yeah,
you're
it's
really
been-
watching
like-
your overview.
All right.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks.
It's been happening forever. So.
All right, this is great. We're way deep in the weeds, but I let it go for a while because I know there's a lot of advanced players that came to listen to Asher and Grath. So I hope you guys got some information there. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back in just about 4 minutes. So do what you need to do. We'll see you on the second hour. And Asher, you'll stick with us, right?
Yeah.
And Grath, you'll be with us?
Yeah, I don't have anywhere to go. It's Friday. I'm lonely.
Oh, stick with
We're
us.
gonna get into the tough questions next.
Yeah. All right, we'll be right
Get
back.
your golem.
Okay, we took a quick vote, and Galente won, so we're going to do the Galente Hangar. We'll be right back. Okay, you guys can actually talk. I think I've muted you. show me a sign if you can hear me talking. Okay, great. Okay, we're almost done with intermission here. Just a few seconds. How about 10 seconds?
You do get a fight. It's usually epic.
All right, we're back. Okay, thanks for sticking around for the second hour of the show. We still have Asher Elias with us, who's an FC for Goon Swarm, and we have Grath from Pandemic Legion. And where were we? We were talking about, the first hour we were talking about doctrines and some of the stuff that's going on in Saranen.
Citadels.
And yeah, we talked about Citadels and stuff like that. But I do want to go back to Asher where we started and ask him a little more about his unique podcast. I don't think there are other podcasts like it.
Yeah.
What gave you the idea to do that?
Well, I was looking for a podcast like mine, basically.
And there wasn't any, right?
No, there wasn't. I mean, part of the problem is there's a
Well,
few problems with.
Sorry, we should describe what your podcast is all about. Would you mind?
Sure. I definitely wanted to make a podcast that was focused on FCing, not as much about politics. Or one thing I noticed in a lot of podcasts, people talk about some fight that they had in great detail that I wasn't at, and I don't really care about. So I didn't really want to hear about that. And then a lot of people talk about the meta or politics, and I find that interesting. But there was already a lot to fill that. You know what I mean? So I decided to do. I like your dog, Drunk Canadian. I decided to do
Nice dog, hugging him.
a podcast that was kind of actually intentionally in the weeds as much as you can actually get into it. The downside is that FCs are inherently pretty little princesses who are competitive and think that they so it's hard to wrangle someone who wants to talk, and then and also a lot of FCs, not the best ones, but a lot of FCs are really I don't know what word I can say now. They sort of suffer from mild Asperger's syndrome. They aren't very personable and chatty. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I guess you haven't hung out with me much.
It's a younger generation, man.
It's really hard to be personable when people just yell, "Oh my God, it's a girl!"
They all
She's
started getting
talking."
medicated when they were like 10 because people said they didn't pay attention enough, and now they're all turned out like this. This is what we're left with. Good job.
Well, I can't really say anything because I haven't led an Imperium fleet since I got this commercial job. So,
Well, Asher, you were saying that is it hard to get guests because there's a limited amount of FCs that have kind of the profile that you need to be on a show?
It wasn't terribly hard before the war started, but now that pretty much everyone's committed to a side, it's hard to. Yeah, it's since then I've basically gone solo, or I've cut down the amount I've done as well. But it's hard to get people who can get on there and have a reasonable chat without delving into sort of name calling or just one-upmanship.
Yeah, it's kind of. I would imagine it's kind of like military, generals during wars in the past, where they could have tea together and talk. Even though their armies were at war. So that's kind of what I see your show like.
FCs aren't generals. That's more like a Sky Marshal. FCs are more like we're in charge on the ground, but we only have our fleet, maybe
More
a
like
little
a
bit more than that. Exactly. And I don't think those guys could do it as well. I mean, they probably would because they had better manners back then. But when you're talking about a bunch of 18 to 35-year-old, mostly young men, it tends up to being pretty testosterone filled. So you just have to sort of vet people. And between that and then everyone being at war and being more busy than they normally are, it's hard to get guests since then. So which is why I've mostly gone solo.
Which is actually great because not many people can do that. I've tried and it's very difficult to do, and that is to just sit, just to talk for an hour is incredibly hard, and you do it really well. You make it look kind of easy.
Wow, I really appreciate that. Well, the thing is, that last one, not my most recent one, but the one before that where I was totally solo, about 10 minutes in, I broke into like a profuse sweat and I could feel my heart beating. Like I was like so nervous about just carrying on this whole thing. And I actually took like a 5-minute break and just edited it back together because it was almost like stage fright. It was kind of weird. But yeah, I'd never done anything like that before, trying to carry it on my own. And by the end of the 40 minutes I'd spoke, my voice was pretty hoarse. And anyway, it was a good experience.
Do you do it live, or I thought you just recorded it?
I recorded it in one take.
Okay, so you actually play like it's live.
Yeah. I don't like to. I mean, I give people sort of a general note, like here's what we're going to talk about, so they can have sort of better answers that we'll think about what they would like to talk about in that subject. But from that outline, we work live.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty funny. I want to highlight a certain episode where you had, and Grath knows this person, Jeff Rader on the show.
Yeah.
And you brought up Jay Amazing, who's an FC for Goonswarm.
Jay Amazingness, yeah.
Amazingness, and Jeff said, "Oh, I hate that guy," and you said, "He's my son."
Yeah, that was a pretty funny turn of events. That was sort of your Spanish telenovela turn of events right there.
Yeah.
But
I thought Jeff handled it very well. He said, "Oh, well, then I chalk it up to bad parenting." That was great.
That was really
He's
good.
so fast on his feet.
That was a good move. Jay, if you look at his in-game title on Jay Amazingness, his number one title is direct shotting Jeff Rader. So he really enjoys taunting Jeff after that one time he headshot him on a Halloween roam, and they've had a feud going on since then.
Yeah, and this question is open to all you guys. What is this about headshotting? Is it a courtesy not to kill the FC for the other team so you get a better fight out of it, or is that gone?
Depends. Are you objective? Are you objective driven, or are you looking for a good fight?
I have a strong opinion on this one, but I'll wait.
I've never known a time when you didn't not headshot the FC. What is this?
Well, it depends on what a good fight is. If it's based on the members in the fleet who just want to mop up an unorganized group, then headshotting the FC is all the way to go. If you respect the other FC and you have some honor, then yeah, you don't headshot. But I mean, it's Eve and nobody has honor.
Well, it's like everyone's always like, I want good fights. There's the FC, kill it. And I'm like, that's not how. What? No.
I've been headshot in every single fight in this war. Usually, they start at the start. And I don't hold it against anyone in a war, especially.
Well, that can't.
It's just
that can't be true.
To
because I tried to kill you many times, Asher. It didn't work.
Well, I mean, I said they attempted to. It didn't always work. But, it has worked a lot.
So I'm guilty of this, right?
Yeah, I want to hear Grath's opinion on this one.
I'm guilty of it. I did it once. I was camping right after the original Northern Coalition broke apart. We were camping Moises Mihi and Adele to try and kill them like we were doing here. It actually worked. They exploded, went into a million pieces. It was great. I was in Tempest, and Black Legion showed up, and I was gonna just straight brawl them. It wasn't Elo. It was one of their other guys. I don't remember. Everybody always made the joke that he went to jail for robbing a Dunkin' Donuts. I don't know if that's true or not. But anyway, that guy.
But always headshot Elo still.
Yeah, well, but Elo wasn't there, so they were supposed to just straight up like rumble with us. We were in Tempest, they were in Munins, and everything else like that, and they jumped in. And we started fighting for a second, and they all locked me up. And I was like, "Oh, he primary me! Kill him!" And they killed whoever the guy was. And then the entire fleet fell apart. So, like, I've done it too. By just as soon as I'm threatened by them, I'll kill him. But like, if you want to fight, you don't kill the FC. And the way it works is if you know you're going to win, or you're pretty sure you're going to win, or you just want to really brawl, you don't kill the enemy FC because he's always the anchor too. You fucking web him and point him and scram him and make him watch while you kill all his friends around him all night long.
Right.
The ones that are going around him?
Right. Yeah. And so like we always have a thing where like pussies will headshot the FC, but like the dudes that want to actually brawl, you can tell because you get webbed to shit and then you know it's time to fight.
there's certain FCs will not warp their fleet off if they are pointed,
Yeah.
like Saracen. So you always point and web them, and
In other words,
you
they
let them.
they won't save their guys. They'll keep them around him.
Yeah. Those guys you always point and web. You never headshot them if you feel like you've got the advantage. Obviously, if I arrange to fight with someone, I will never headshot them. I mean, I think that's just sort of implicit in arranging a fight. If it's an honor brawl or not an honor brawl, you know what I mean. If you're just roaming around looking for a good fight, and someone brings it to you, I'll attempt not to headshot the FC. But I've been accused of headshotting FCs many times. Some horde guy yelled at me. I guess he was the FC for their fleet. He comboed me, and he's like, I'm really upset that you headshot me in that fight. And I'm like, well, we're in a war, so I wouldn't have minded headshotting you. But the fact that you think I know who the random horde FC is for this fleet is incorrect. I just killed a random guy on Ferox, and that happened to be you, which was the FC.
But pro tip as the enemy FC, always have a backup FC.
Yeah. But it
It's
takes
that-
time for them though to I used to do backup FCs a lot when I was learning, and getting people to reorganize around the backup FC takes time. And
Yeah, but that's
by
all
that
part
time,
of. It's all part of arranging your fleet. You go,
For
this
sure.
is I'm the fleet commander. Here's my number 2. If I go down, I'll say it takes over.
I
That
was
guy
gonna say,
should know.
that
If you're a
might
smaller-
have something to do with having come from and doing that in test where
Right.
herding kittens was literally impossible. But I mean, at a certain point though, reorganizing around a new FC who should be close and ready to go it still takes enough time that you're going to lose quite a bit in the meantime.
Well, what I was going to
They
say is, like, for
have,
something like test,
They actually have a
we
really
already
cool-
know.
Oh, so go ahead.
Sorry, guys, we're talking over each other. For
Right,
something like
Ash-
test,
Sorry.
we know who like their FC
Oh,
is,
yeah.
and if he puts the backup FC ahead of time, then we already know that too. If you're like a smaller group, like a LoSec group or someone that is not likely to have a spy in your fleet, then yeah, arrange 3 or 4. But if you're a bigger group, generally you just leave your main FC and have your backup ready to go, and drop X's and say now anchor on me,
I think
rather than telling your fleet ahead of time.
Yeah.
Marcia Mello makes an interesting point here, and I don't know how common it is, but do competent FCs have an alt on the field?
Most of a scout.
I have an unknown alt that I've never told anybody to me, and I frequently will switch out alts while I'm FCing so that people are looking for Paul on grid, but I'm actually in a different ship, but I'm on comms as Paul.
That makes
I think
sense.
a lot of the
Wow, the
a lot of
psychology.
FCs use multiple alts, but if you lose the one that is the anchor for the fleet, there is still a breakdown. Like if the
Yeah.
one that you're using on field to guide and direct the fleet, if that goes down, you have problems. And
Especially
there's
if you're
nobody
helps
that can
mitigate
avoid
it.
that.
Like,
Yeah.
there's nothing that you can do to be 100% safe, but I find like using the alts and stuff and that people don't know that they're linked to me, then that's like, it helps, but there's nothing you can do to stop from being randomly targeted. And like Asher shot a random horde FC and didn't even know he was the guy. Like that shit still happens.
There's like live fleet intel of the thing. So like a lot of people will get in fleets, and everybody always like links the anchors, and there's a pretty good chance that one of those anchors is the FC when they all get linked. Like the logistics anchor gets linked, this guy gets linked, and so it's pretty easy if you have live fleet intel, which
Yeah.
a lot of people do nowadays.
Yeah,
Like,
well,
not
they-
just
groups
us,
have that
not just-
We used to do it a lot where we'd have like the main FC would pass off just anchor to like their backup FC, but they'd still be on grid somewhere calling shots, so there'd be no real breakdown, if that makes sense. Like, because your
Mhm.
FC wouldn't be off grid,
This
so
is
that was
maybe a-
always helpful.
It's maybe a little in the weeds, but it also depends on the type of fight you're having. If you're in a brawling doctrine, like if your battleship's at 0 or close range, and the FC gets headshot, it's pretty easy to take over from
Yeah.
there. But if you're like someone like me who really likes to kite and use range and positioning, getting headshot can be a lot more catastrophic because
Yeah,
your
I
ships are
used to do
generally
in Drake.
are
Yeah,
generally
depending on the
weaker.
fight, you can FC from your pod even off grid, because as long as you're getting intel fed to you like real time, you can tell guys like what to do.
Has it helped to have a bigger grid for these kinds of incidents?
Yeah,
Made
It's
it
different.
well, maybe not for him. I like the bigger grids in general. I think it's amazing. Like chaos can now stretch thousands of fucking kilometers. It looks disgusting. There can be a battlefield that's just bodies for miles.
It
I wish
still
they got,
confuses me at
Sounds pretty
times.
grim, but
I do
Because
wish
when
they
things
got rid
are
of
at, like-
combat probing for the FC, like they were talking about.
It just fucks me up sometimes because I mean things will be at like, I always find it's anything within the 2,000 kilometer mark. I always think it's meters at first.
Yeah,
Like especially when you're undocking, because things are usually like within the 2 to 5K range, and then there's all this stuff at 2,000, and I don't ever look at my actual screen. I just use my overview.
yeah, you're like, get him. Oh,
Yeah, I'm like, oh man, look at all this stuff out here, and then like, oh wait, I'm an
put
idiot.
it.
Matt Earl, it's funny because the conversation that we were having the other day about kind of how this war went down, and you asked this question now, right, which is this tactical question of, is it okay to headshot an FC, right? And it just kind of reminded me of the conversation that we were having the other day, and I'm going to ask Raph this. Do you think, okay, if you're looking for the fight, right, you don't headshot the opposing FC, make it all fall to pieces, right? Because you're looking for the fight, right? In this war, do you think you came too hard and didn't? And maybe,
fuck 'em.
no, not from an objective standpoint, right? Because from an objective standpoint, obviously the objective was achieved. But I guess the path to fun was
the overfishing is what you're talking about.
The objective clearly wasn't fun. Killer B said that they intentionally never gave us a fight where we could have
For
possibly
sure.
won.
He's not like the objective.
Well, let's get the question.
my state-
Hold on, Graf. Let's get the question out there first, Dirk. Did you finish your question?
Well, the question was basically, PL is one of those groups that has traditionally been pretty good at knowing what to do to get the other side to keep fighting. And in this case, it almost seems like they came so hard, and once it was realized that there was no ability to fight back, it just ended.
I guess.
Yeah, but that's what the nature of the beast with coalitions, right? It's not like it was just PL. You know what I mean? If it was just PL, then it was fine. But you had all these other coalitions that weren't in a coalition before, and it's a lot of moving parts and things to control.
Pretty universal across that was not the desire for a good fight. It was a desire for a destruction of what a lot of us saw as a sore point in the game, and something that
The sore point was that the Imperium was too solid, too much of a block, and too stagnant.
and then it had too much of the active player base was all concentrated in one spot. Like the whole calling the MBC the CSC 2.0 thing is really disingenuous, because when it's done, this breaks. This doesn't stay together. Like too much of these people like to shoot each other. I like shooting tests. I really like shooting tests. It's fun. I like shooting darkness. There's a bunch of them. They're good to shoot at. Like, so we will go back to not being a part of this group, and a lot of the other, like NC Dot's not going to stay blue to all these fucking people. There's no fucking way. Vince will kill someone, like actually kill someone. I don't think a lot of people are like. There's just too much. Like ProGod and Sword Dragon have already tried to work together like several times in the past, and it didn't work out. And like there's the whole bad blood between Sword and Test bit. Like all that stuff is just there waiting. The goal here wasn't to fight you. The goal was to remove you because you were a tumor that had become unhealthy for the game. You weren't playing. You had this huge concentration of wealth and power and all the good stuff up here, and you were like actively trying to dictate terms on how we could play to the rest of the game. Everybody kind of just stood up, said, "Nah, show him the door."
Okay, but
So
there it is.
Rumwaffle asks then why hasn't it been called done and split up yet?
I called it done last night. I think it's been done. I actually we internally have been discussing it for a while. Like, there's not anybody like Manny would like to keep camping you, but Manny, I love Manny to death. Manny will hate you for fucking ever. Like, there's nothing you can do to stop Manny from hating anything with
Like
a
a
B at
woman
logo on it.
hatred?
Like beyond that, even like it's
Wow.
it's yeah. He would make a B and stick it with pins in the night while nobody was
So
looking. I
then-
could see
That
that.
actually kind of segues into a question I wanted to ask you. You guys have clearly won, and I guess I'm asking you to comment sort of on your alliance and people outside your alliance, so maybe it's a little unfair. But
Sure.
as the winner of the Broward County 1998 non-Asian mathlete, I know what winning is, and
Wow. Okay.
I'm an experienced winner, and winners don't have to go out. Like the
it's funny
a
you
lot
sound
of the
Asian.
people. Thank you. I don't know how to take that. A lot of the people who have clearly, by any measurement, other than the complete and utter, destruction of Goonswarm, you've won by every other metric. Every metric you guys should have gone in thinking was possible.
Sure.
But a lot of people are still chest beating like you guys haven't won. It's not like Tom Brady after he wins the Super Bowl goes and spikes the ball in front of Peyton Manning.
I
Although
can
that's
comment
not
on it
impossible.
without being a part of it.
Yeah, I'd like to hear it.
Long seething, deep-seated hatred of Goonswarm from literally all sides.
Well, there's
it's
more
such
to it than that.
There is, but I mean that's a big part of it. Like when I think about other alliances, when I look at some of the alliances, especially that have joined in the fight in Saranin in particular, like I think of a long-standing /fuck goons into the ground forever sentiments. So I mean, to finally see it happen, I think that might be part of it. Is just people being really excited that they've done it and it's happened, and in some ways to run them into the ground even further to keep the camp going, to make sure that you guys don't resurface. Although I think those people don't realize that that's going to happen pretty much no matter how hard they camp, and those people are just kind of riding, oh my god, we beat goons, it's amazing.
But a lot
I
of
think
it has
some
to do
people
with the
are also
overfishing, though,
angry
too.
and shocked at how fast it all collapsed. Like,
Yeah.
I think a lot of people wanted a lot more out of this than they
Well,
were
that's
given.
where
That's
my
where the
question was
overfishing
coming
comes
from.
in.
Yeah, I
Is
mean,
that goons were
Yeah.
forming up things like 500 man, like 2 Macario fleets, and then you have 2,500 Olive Eve dudes from
Wait, but
NBC
are you complaining
or
about
local.
being blobbed? Is the Imperium
No.
is the
I'm
Imperium
just
Yeah,
complaining
no,
about being
this is
blobbed?
probably-
I get what
I'm
you're
not
asking,
complaining
but
about that.
again, I say I don't think this was a fight. However, every time we've ever gone to conquer somebody, like to actually remove them from space, this is how it plays out. You are all terrible cowards. Nobody is brave and goes down with the fucking ship. Wherever this myth came from, like the last alliance to actually hold out and fight for its space to the last man.
Don't say brave.
Rise.
Don't say
Okay.
brave.
No, Rise. Fuck, the rest of you collapsed like shit. Rise held a pocket of space, the RIT triangle in the south.
Rise.
After long, Band of Brothers had retreated against all the fucking goons and all the goons' friends and everything else like that, they fought and held the RIT triangle. What ended up killing them was a speech from an FC named Ye and the introduction of jump bridges into the game. The goons opened up what's called the Eye of Terror, and there wasn't enough left in Rise after holding out for 7 fucking months all by themselves. This is one little tiny ass alliance in one little pocket of space. They held out. They were the last ones to do it. And then Ye came in and told them that they were shit and nothing they did mattered, and they had to hold out longer anyway, and all this other dumb shit. He gave the worst morale speech in the history of the fucking world. The alliance collapsed the next day.
Wow.
People hold out, players hold out so long as they think that there is the possibility that they can fight back. Once they've determined that it's over, then
Yeah.
Nobody
then they
does
go-
that for their space
And that
anymore. They
brings up-
cut and run. Everybody like Atlas
not
collapsed.
right at the
Atlas
beginning.
collapsed after one fight. Everything they did after one particular fight where Fintroll jumped to pump Titans on him was fucking nothing. The
Let me ask you
Northern
a question,
Coalition
Brad. Would you
collapsed
fight
after
for Sov
2
right now?
good fights. Maybe I'm different though. I'm one of the people in PL that thinks we should make a spot. We should take a spot and pick it. It should be a good spot, and it might not be what other players in the game would consider a good spot, but I think it would be a good spot for us. However, I am in the minority. Other people don't think we
Yeah.
should pick a spot. Like,
Yeah, I don't.
But
that
I
definitely seems
actually-
like the PL minority.
I have a spot in mind, and I would like to live there, but nobody else really does either.
Cobalt
You
Edge.
guys,
You want to go to Cobalt Edge?
No.
Hold on.
You guys brought up a good point, though, that Matterall actually highlighted in his most recent article about the idea of morale and how important it is in a war, and talking about how goons and the Imperium and the whole entity didn't really have a whole lot of morale going into the war, because there's been, from some people's perspective, a lot of shit on you Imperium, boo on you Goonswarm, more specifically boo on you Mittani from CCP itself.
I think. I mean, I think our morale was normal before the war. I think Mittens made the right decision in basically ceding the territory. I don't know of any example in Eve where an alliance fought till the bitter end, and then and all their members were still there and said, "All right, now let's go on our next adventure." That doesn't happen in Eve. You bleed
No,
people,
you lose. Yeah.
No, but
and people are
but
your
they
most
fought
valuable
the-
resources.
But they fought in the bitter beginning.
Yes,
The
and I
thing
think
that
that's
he
the
did
difference.
So did
and,
we.
and that's the point I was trying to make, is that even an alliance, a small alliance like Wrath is saying, with good morale, fought long and hard until someone shit all over it. Historically, when I think of goon wars and goon fights, they typically last a lot longer, and goon fights a lot harder. And so I guess for me, seeing it from the outside, not being a part of it, maybe I don't really have room to speak. But it seemed to happen really fast, and that goons didn't really make a stand.
I mean, the
Yeah,
Light
I
Brigade
feel
got
like-
a poem written about them.
MTech.
I said,
But
okay,
they-
so I know where the fail. Like, I feel like I know where it was. Like, Mittani's an older player, like the rest of us. There's a group of us that kind of like came up with the whole, like, not came up with, like, we created it, but we all started playing during this time where it was all these other alliances were lying to their membership, and these certain specific groups of us, like like Goonswarm and like PL and a few other ones, like NC Dot even, just drown your members in the truth. Like, if the thing is shit, you tell them it's shit. If it's not shit, you tell them it's not shit, and you never mislead them or lie to them in any way, shape, or form, because that's just counterproductive, and it hurts morale. Because in this game, people will spy. You will accidentally put in print somewhere that you lied. The wrong person will see it, and then the rest of the game will see it, and all your members will know you're a lying cocksucker. So you just drowned everybody in the truth. And this war, he didn't do that. He has consistently, you go back and listen to every fireside he's had and since this started, and you tell me which goals he met that he set during this war week after week. He set unreachable goals that were impossible to come anywhere near. He just consecutively makes up stuff like a palsied Hitler. Sometimes it's like weird to hear some of the shit that he's saying that it's verifiably not true. Like, one click on one website verifies what he's saying is not true at all, and it just doesn't make any sense. And I think this is the first time he's ever done that, and I feel like that's what created the apathy that was inside the alliance.
I don't remember him setting goals. I think it was a lot of reaction to the things that was happening. I don't remember him saying these are our goalposts, except that we're going to try to harass Horde in,
the week before you lost Declan, or he lost Declan, he specifically said, "This is our line." And I remember the day he said it, like, yes, he called his no retreat point. This is where we get the fights. And it never happened. Declan fell in 7 days.
Did CO2 switch sides in between that time, or did that have nothing to do with one another? Because that was
before that.
Okay, so there was. All right. Okay, so you're saying he wasn't being.
I feel like
they die.
I feel like there are a lot of points that nothing that he ever said happened. And you saw people bitch about it, but like most of the people that complained about it left and were ostracized in the process. Like, Jeff wanted me to ask Boat specifically, like, why has there never been a single person that he was friends with in the Imperium that left, that he said he couldn't name a singular relationship that he held with a person that left the alliance that was still good, because they all became like these friends.
That could be for totally different reasons, and we don't really know because he's not here to defend himself.
He didn't have an answer. His answer was last night was that he had to be politically correct at the time, and like some of these people called him friend, and I just don't understand that. It's this weird thing that I don't understand that goes on there, and I feel like this time is the first time that something like that has ever happened in all the wars that they fought, and I believe it's probably a direct contributor to the apathy that most of the Imperium showed started.
I see what you're saying. To be fair, though, they still have a lot of members who are very dedicated to them, and even some that decided to stick with them after their alliance went somewhere else. So it's kind of the picture itself doesn't say that people are running away from him in droves. There's a few high-profile people that left, but they left for their own reasons.
I mean, ND, Blarf, and who else? Like, what are we talking about other than that?
Blarf, DJ.
Billy, you had, entire...
Billy left long before the war. Not there when he left Ilum. He said,
but it's part of.
It's been fun flying with you guys, and I'll meet you in the future.
But it might be part of the same. But it might be part of the same continuum of, friends leaving.
People, right? Exactly, and those are some of the reasons that he was posting about it when all this shit was going down on Reddit. Billy's posted on Reddit about it. Like, I know you guys don't read Reddit or whatever, but like everybody pretends they don't. But like, he posted about it. Like, it's all part of the thing. This whole club of people that I guess I don't know. I don't pay enough attention to who runs the show. But
I think in my opinion, part of the issue is that a lot of the people who left were people who'd been purged because of lack of activity. And they didn't appreciate that. They wanted to stay in the club, but they didn't want to do the effort that you need to do. And that's part of like the idea of directors and Goonswarm is that you make it easier for the line members to play, because we have a lot of people who play an hour a week. They got, then they just don't have time to play more. So you put your time in to make it easier for other members to play.
Asher made a really nice, he took actually some time to develop this, what he just said here, and it's really well detailed and stuff like that on his podcast, his last episode. If you can catch that, it's a really good explanation for some of the stuff that might have been at work here. Dirk left the Imperium. I'm going to razz you about it because Caleb wrote it inside the chat there, Dirk.
What?
You're a Mittani friend that left the Imperium.
Oh, right. But as I've said all along, it was not because I was treated poorly or anything like that. I've got no sob story about how I hid under the skirt for years.
That's
and
not what you
left
told me.
at the last moment.
No, actually, it is funny because I didn't see your public on Reddit "I'm leaving you" speech that people
Oh
normally
yeah,
get.
odd that, right?
Yeah. Okay, but
where's all the leaks, Dirk?
what I want to do though is flip the question, because I think Graf made an interesting point that they did not like the Imperium for what it stood for. That a lot of active players were sitting up there like, a giant iceberg, and people needed water. We needed people to fight, and you guys were sitting up there quietly. So we're glad to break you up. And he also made the point.
But just remember oh God, you got to go back and remember what drove these things to form into some of the sizes that they were. I can tell you how my corp ended up in the Imperium. What was the CFC at the time 3.5 years ago? Okay, when NC Dot and PL came over to take over the drone lands in what became the rental empire over there, all right, and we fought them for a little while, got farmed by them for a little while, determined that we were getting farmed while being called Spartans by Elise, okay, and then I said, we're out of here. You either join one of the big guys, whichever one you can, and get
You were
in.
Spartans. Come on.
Well, we tried.
You were
We
Rise,
tried.
man. You were Rise.
We
No, the
tried,
Spartans
but
all
no-
died. You played your part in that play really well. Spartans
Yeah,
died.
exactly.
You were Spartans.
Exactly.
You RP'd
No,
it well.
no matter what we brought, there was always another level that came out.
Well, that's where I was going.
We were
But that's
showing
how we
you
ended
all
up
the
in-
facets of combat and Eve gameplay. You
Well-
should
And
be
it
so
was
Oh my
proud.
goodness! Oh my goodness!
And it was great. It was
But-
really the last. It was really the last fun that I want to say I had before getting into the Blob. But again, I think that there are a lot of corps and a lot of alliances out there that somehow find their way into what at that time became a binary world, and that binary world, was ultimately culminated right in the CFC Imperium and the N3 PL group.
Well, that just made sense, right? Like the way
yeah.
to fight a war was in a big block coalition, so it just made sense to be part of one.
The bigger question now, though, is now that you have got this diminished Imperium, whatever it ends up being in the future, right? Diminished from what it once was. Groups like Pandemic Legion, NC Dot, who have these massive iron armadas of supers, right, that want to have something to do with them, do they have an enemy out there worthy of what it is that they have built?
No,
You
because they become the next
Fragment-
CFC.
Fragment. No, it's not that they become the next CFC, because the CFC was a coalition of a whole bunch, a lot of different things, right?
Yeah, but you already see it happening with guys in tests being like, oh, we need to be friendly with our neighbors because we live so deep in nullsec, we need to get things in and out. And it's already starting that you're going to see these little groups form and a little donut's going to form,
smaller,
but it's going to spread.
So you
it's going to
guys-
spread.
Well,
You guys don't think the future goes? You guys think the future goes back to larger, not as large, but larger
Well, I don't
coalitions
know.
versus like
You-
small
Eve
skirmish
needs-
fighting?
Eve needs a group to hate, right? So Imperium's dead, and we're trapped in Saranin. So
Ding Dong the Witch is dead, yes.
people are gonna look to the next biggest group that has all the power to hate. And then I'm sorry to say, once like the Brothers of Tangra shit starts coming out, and that stuff starts coming out about the PL things that they were doing that was worse than the Viceroy program, and farming super parts and farming renters. Once that stuff starts coming out, and people realize that they're the next superpower.
Let's let some of it come out right now, because since I know what all the
Yeah,
things
great.
that I know about our alliance,
This is great for
and I
ratings.
don't know any of the things that you just said. Like, man,
Hold on, I
come
need
on.
popcorn.
Is this all part of the Sphere program? Is that what's going on? Because this sounds like some crazy made up shit.
well, but
No,
Hey,
I
Brad.
like have a real life buddy that plays Eve that was in Brothers of Tangra and like tracked the ISK
Okay.
and everything, and it was turned
Sure.
out to be a subsidiary of PL, and they were building super parts and having them impounded, and this was all
when
happening.
We weren't fucking having them impounded. Dude, we ran that thing super legit. There is a team of accountants. There was a blog posted that tracked every single fucking dime we made with the Brothers of Tangra, 17 trillion, mind you, and where it all went. So like coming up like 3 years after the fact, talking about, oh man, they were fucking whatever you just said, impounding super carrier build parts. People's shit got impounded when they didn't pay their fucking rent, because that's how you get them to pay their. Like, oh, you didn't pay your rent? Sweet, your shit's stuck in this fucking station. Good fucking luck. Then magically the next day they have their fucking rent and they get their shit back. Nobody ever impounded that. you know, like, do you know how many builders actually are in PL that we just move around with us? You guys act like, oh, this is some magical thing that we fucking keep other places with us. They are in the Alliance. Like, there's one of them in your fucking chat that's been talking almost the whole fucking night tonight. He knows all the shit we know about Citadels. We know it because of him. He writes all our stuff up about it. Like, this whole magical fucking fairy tale that, like, people like to create around us, like our program that takes us out of local and lets us know what your ship is fit with and dumb shit like that. This shit is getting fucking ridiculous.
But
You
that's
all need
important,
medication.
Graf, because people's perception is all that matters. Fact
I
doesn't
guess.
matter.
Yeah, like
So,
the Viceroy program
like-
was so publicized, they made goons look so bad when,
Yeah.
like, you know, if you looked at, you know, the renting and the farming and all that stuff.
We charged
that-
out the ass to rent from Bot because it was the safest place in the universe, and we paid the only dude who was a threat to our thing to go camp your guys' fucking renters instead. And so our shit went through the roof. We charged astronomically, and everybody paid us. It was amazing. There was a whole team of dudes. Dirk Action, one of the guys in the thing, all his whole job was to make renters happy. Like, to even insinuate that we hurt these dudes' feelings when there was a channel of 30 people whose whole job in life was to fawn over anything and everything that a
but-
group of fucking Eastern Europeans could want.
But
Like,
this is Eve. Were they trustworthy?
yeah, no, they totally are. They handled trillions. Like, these dudes had access to all our fucking money. They never like sifted or anything. In fact, they got so addicted to doing it that, again, like Metroclix and Faffer and all the rest of them, and the whole corp of BOPE that was largely involved in the management of the rental alliance just left to go keep managing the rental alliance. They're good at it. That's what they fucking do. But like, we never, like, there was no need to shady in that business. It was making us so much money that to do anything shady with it would have been fucking retarded.
Well-
it even made us money, and we just sold it. At the end, we were like, here, just give us like a year's worth of the money it's worth, and people were like, oh, okay.
All right. Well, okay. So maybe that'll come out. Maybe it won't. If there's a story there, it'll be interesting to, like, see what that is, because all these stories are really interesting that, have to do with secret arrangements and stuff like that. But if I could, I want to go back to when you had said, because I was setting up for this, that, the goons were a big, reservoir of active players that you guys wanted to break up so you could get at them. And that's just it. For you, it's really easy for you to pick on just about anybody you want. And pick on is just the word I throw out there. But basically camp, isolate, whatever, destroy, because you're PL. And NC will never not be your friend. So in a way, you're kind of
reset them so bad. I just want Vince to pack up Lady Scarlet, load White Arrow into a corp, and roll it on over into PK so we can.
I know,
have
you've
at the
been-
rest of it. Like,
you've been
I've
trying to-
mentioning this one for
you have to take
4
Poison
fucking
Kevin too.
years.
You have to take Poison Kevin too.
Okay, as long as we leave Travis in charge of NC Dot when we roll it, that's all I give a shit about.
I just want to make sure I catch that bus, actually. But I know that you've been trying to recruit Lady Scarlet for a while into PL and then break that arrangement up.
She's one of the other ones. She has a lot to do. Like, when Nully completely wrecked having a rental empire, Lady Scarlet's the one that took it over.
Yeah.
And the
If you ever
working
wanted to feel like
relation.
your money was safe, read a Lady Scarlet email.
Yeah.
The grammatical errors in there were epic.
Well,
I like to
ran
think
that
she just
thing-
doesn't care about what she's typing, and she's too busy to care
Right.
about spelling.
Yeah, she ran it. She ran it like a fucking clock, and she was connected to all her rental empire stuff. Went with and they talked, and everything was great, and there was never a fucking problem. We could swap systems back, like it was back and forth. Like, you could have this system over here, and we'll give you this system over here, and you got a bunch of dudes in this constellation, so we'll just give you the one next to it. And it was headache free. I made her cry one day, and I felt really bad for it, because when it first all went down, it was like right at the end of the Halloween war, and I was super stressed, and I yelled at her real bad, and Vince was like, dude, what the fuck is wrong with you? I hadn't talked to Vince in like a month. He's like, what the fuck's wrong with you? I'm like, what happened? He goes, you fucking made her cry. I'm like, oh man, I never want to like yell at anybody, except for maybe Nydia, but like that's different. I never really want to like yell at anybody that much, and so I kind of felt bad about that, because I was never on the whole
Right.
tease Lady Scarlet train.
I've got a question for you, Grath. Were you in the room when you guys were divvying up the North that you guys were going to take from the Imperium? Were you in the room when someone convinced Sword Dragon that Declan was the place to move his alliance to?
No, bro. You know what? Like, I did the Halloween War thing, and I don't think I could ever handle or being involved in that. And God love Vince, because he did it this time too. But I don't want anything to do with any of that shit. That was all like Killa and Annie and not me. I don't want to.
Because-
I don't want friends, and I don't want to be friends, and I don't want to work with friends.
Because-
But you want Sov. That's interesting.
Yeah, exactly.
You just
Come
want a
get it.
farm to retire on, don't you?
No,
Your
I
fighting
wanna,
days are
He
over.
wants to be that guy that tried to take all that test space. He's like, I want all my moons, but you can have the space.
stick a pile of feed
Is that
corn in a
cool?
fucking field and go sit in the corner of it with a shotgun and wait for all the idiots to come try and hunt it and shoot him in the
That
back of the
sounds
head.
like
He's
That's what I
Cincinnatus, yeah.
What he really wants to do is find a way of killing that charity citadel, but
would- Yeah, that's on the list. That thing's on the list. That's fucking going down.
Hold on, I want to come back to it though, because I don't know if it was completely answered. But it seems like that arrangement really favors you to break up the, walled-in city to get more people out, so that you could actually decide who you wanted to beat up that week.
Sure, I
right,
think
they've
you're
become
gonna.
the undisputed top dog in Eve right now.
I don't know about that because I think everybody's thinking pre-Citadel, and I don't think people understand yet. They will soon. Like, it won't go before the year's out before people get it. But the game changed really fucking drastically, and I don't think we can do what we did anymore. Like, that's just not something we're capable of, and people haven't seen it yet because we haven't been asked to show them. But what we used to do will not work, and the first time anybody else tries to do it, it's going to go real fucking bad.
I think you're kind of vastly underestimating how much the Citadels will be a benefit to you guys. I don't know if you saw this, but they said to build Supers and Titans, you're going to have to put up an XL like construction Citadel. I forget what they're called. So someone's going to have to drop 100 billion plus on a stationary object that you guys can go and kill. You like, it's not only like killing an SCC boss, it'll be like killing a Titan floating in space if anyone in the game tries to build a super without PL's permission.
It's not so okay. So let's start here since we wanted to talk about fittings. How much time we got left, Matterall? Am I gonna like talk for half an hour and kill your whole show because
Yeah.
like this is
We don't even
Yeah.
have half an hour.
We have like
Okay.
10 minutes, but it's
okay.
But this is an interesting
so-
topic.
Hey, Matterall,
So-
if you need to go over, I'm after you. So feel free.
First things the CCP said they wanted to. You guys, everybody's been asking what's the reward for living in space, and like there isn't enough reward for living in space. And there, like, here's me wanting to have space that we live in and own. CCP said they're willing to make. They don't want to kill the nomadic lifestyle, but there are certain benefits right now to being stationary that a lot of people are overlooking long before they ever get to these other arrays and stuff like that. So they just added all these new super capital fittings and capital fittings and stuff like that. And I believe it fundamentally changed the way that capitals are going to function in the game to make them more like regular size ships. They will become common in that regard. Like to an extent that might shock or anger even some people probably, but like you are going to need to be able to refit to do a specific task. You can no longer carry all the fittings at once to do all the jobs you need to do in a super capital or a Titan. You need to be able to dock and change your fitting out because the fittings that you need are too much to carry inside your ship. This is the first time that's ever happened. Like, on my Titan right now, I have enough stuff that I can swap out one set of guns, and then every square inch of space will be taken out. So you need an XL Citadel. You have to be able to go inside of it. I think you're going to see that nomadic alliances that live out of NPC stations, yeah, that's great, but their Titans can't dock, their Supers can't dock, so they are very limited in what they can do and the time that they are able to respond. Whereas a group of Supers that live in an XL Citadel, as much danger as they're in for living in that Citadel, have a much greater versatility for what they're able to do at the time. They can change fighter loadouts, they can change Dread gun loadouts, Titan gun loadouts, whatever they need to do. They can change tank types, all that kind of stuff. They have all those benefits just from living in the Citadel. You can have a shield super fleet and an armor super fleet and just swap back and forth between clones in the Citadel before you launch. It gives you the ability to escalate no matter what tank type doctrine you are in, from subcap all the way to super capital, simply because you have one of these structures that you live in. And you can be a nomadic alliance and live in one of those, but it takes you 7 days to tear your XL Citadel down, and you have to put up a new one somewhere else, and you lose the rigs, which is 300 billion every time you do it. So CCP has said that PL is allowed to continue playing the game the way we played, but we put a really heavy price in it. Not to mention the fact that the carrier mechanics have changed in such a drastic way that you will no longer be able to, and that goes for NC too, have a subcap fleet and have them log on super cap alts and jump them into a fight.
Yeah.
It's too mechanically intensive to monitor both accounts at the same time and correctly
I think you
function.
can do two. You can do
I don't
two,
think you
but
can. Like, I mean, I wish
Well,
you would try.
not with
because-
drones. With drones, it's a
Yeah,
lot
I wish
harder.
you would try. The new fighter mechanics are super mechanical. Like, everybody's like, "Oh, the fighters are so strong," and if you just tell your fighters to attack and don't learn how to control your fighters, you are my new favorite target in EVE, and I hope you use lots of carriers, because someone that is mechanically proficient at operating his fighters will destroy, even when outnumbered. Like there was a test where we had like 8 dudes against 15 dudes. The 15 dudes didn't really understand the new fighter mechanics, and the 8 dudes were mechanically proficient. They finished to the point that they were killing the other carriers with an average of 30 more fighters than the group that had no idea what they were doing, even though they were outnumbered almost 2-1. So like, the game is changed in a way that will not allow groups like NC and PL to do what we did before. We will do it just on a much smaller scale,
But
and it'll be
once
easier to deal with.
Once the medium and large citadels have the anti-bumping mechanic, you're going to be able to use them in almost the same way as the XL. I mean, you can just use a carrier to refit. You don't have to dock up to refit. So I don't think it's good. I mean, I think you're overselling how much of a pain it will be for you guys to do.
So I can't
nomadic
carry
logistics.
cruise missiles, torpedo missiles, and hull missile launchers in my Leviathan at the same time. If I would also like cap injectors, shield extenders, micro warp drive, afterburners, capital-sized nukes, it just doesn't all fit in the ship anymore. And
Right,
it used
yeah,
to
my
all
rack
fit.
is chock full to the brim right now.
Right. And there's, I guarantee you, there's like, you don't have a third shield extender in there or something like that. You don't have armor plates in case you needed to switch to an armor
I just
kit or
have less
something like
fuel than I used to have. I used to have enough for like 8 Doomsdays, now I have enough for 4. Like, that's the big difference.
Yeah, and that's actually a huge difference, especially with the cooldown. So you can Doomsday in a non-tie-dyed fight for the first 16 minutes, and then you can't.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do some sort of on-the-field logistics to handle that. Not logistics in the healing sense.
And not
actual
just
logistics.
that, but like, so carriers used to have these infinite drone bays. They used to be able to carry as many drones as they needed. Maybe not as many fighters as they needed, but the fighters kind of sucked anyway.
Right,
now
you
a
can have 3,000
carrier,
sentries. Yeah, no problem.
right? A carrier basically now has somewhere either the plus or minus side of 100 fighters in it. There's 12 damage fighters in a group. That means you have sub 9 flights. So and if you consider each squadron a drone, that means a carrier has 9 fucking drones now that he can launch. He can launch them 3 at a time, but he basically has 9 drones. When those 9 drones are dead, he's out of fucking drones. Nothing else. That's it. So the game has changed, and I don't think people understand why. And I yet maybe like I said, things progress slowly at EVE,
Yeah.
so people will start to see it as it more goes on. Like, you haven't really seen Snuff flinging around their super carriers anymore since they lost those.
What super carriers?
Yeah.
Since they lost those. I mean, that's not even like, that's a small
Too
fraction.
soon?
But they they've been more careful now, and they're more probably aware of some of the changes because of the way things went down in that fight. Everybody's starting to realize how terrible fucking dreads are already. But I think you'll find that the threat that we posed, with the combination of Phoebe, with the combination of FozzieSov, and now the combination of these Citadel capital changes, it will probably be less. I can't tell you how much less. I think it would be significantly less. Like, you've already proven that if NC and us are separated by any great distance, we can no longer be relied on to respond to each other's, distress calls.
Right,
Phoebe
you're
did
gonna have
that
to be
too.
nomadic in the way that you show up, you put down roots for a month or two, and then you can move on after that. You can't.
Right.
I don't think you'll be able to show up for a week in effect, in the same way you did before. I agree with that.
Hunter gatherers.
Since Phoebe's changes, our move cycles have averaged around 5 months, whereas before they would be much more frequent than that. Right now we're moving about once every 5 months, because it takes like 2 weeks is move ops on either end of it. Like,
You have to forget how horrible it was, and then you do it again.
Right, or kill everything around you like a cancer until there's nothing else.
So maybe I'm taking this the wrong way, but essentially what you're saying is with the CFC or Imperium, being broken up, there's no chance of like another superpower coming up with the way the game mechanics are working right now.
Not to this. I think the Imperium will be the last really good coalition. You'll see a bunch of smaller ones, and you may.
Are we forgetting
No,
about
that's
Extet?
not-
Are we
that's
forgetting about
not-
Extet here? I mean,
That's not really.
What's up with
They
that?
don't. Those Russians don't like each other, dude.
And that's not PL downplaying the fact that they don't want to become the next on the chopping block for hated group in E.
Oh
That's
no,
like,
I'm sure
like,
we will
like
be.
straight
Like,
up.
but I just think what's going to happen is like we won't be able to. You'll see us do slightly more retreating than maybe you're used to because there's just no way around some of the changes that they've made.
Well,
They just
there's no denying that like the Sov system right now is very attacker friendly.
I don't know.
If the defender doesn't show up,
Yeah, if the defender doesn't show up, it's super that way. But like when I'm gonna tell you what, ADM fucking
Well, I
like
don't
max
mean it as
ADM
in the
systems.
fights. I don't mean as in like the fights, but like speaking from personal experience in TNT, like we were worn down before the war even started from MOA just randomly hitting things every single day, just randomly hitting something with some bullshit ship that you then have to form to go do, and it wears down the alliance that's holding this off. I'm not
Yeah.
like in the war. It's just the subsystem
Yeah.
is very geared to the attacker in that sense that they can just go out and troll and wear down the alliance for months.
You can send a
weeks.
forward attack group of 10 guys to cause like a much. You need one person to cause 10 people to respond.
Exactly.
And so you can do that over and over. That's essentially what Tissue and then later Horde did to SMA.
Yeah,
So
there
that
was
by
a
the
lot
time
of
the
work
war
up.
started, they were already broken.
Like TNT had a lot of work up to this war that wasn't even a war coordination because like we were dealing with MOA on a daily basis and just getting burnt out from holding Sov. And like,
You had
you
an
know,
ADM
people,
6 system, right? You
It's
held
funny.
yeah.
you
If
held too
everyone was-
much Sov.
Oh
Everyone
no,
was
for
talking
sure.
about that.
TNT had way too much space,
Yeah.
but I mean that doesn't negate the fact that like the principle still is there that no matter what, as soon as you get that ping that something's being hit, have to deploy
have-
people to check it
You
out.
have 50 minutes because you have ADM 6 because you have shit tons of ratters in your alliance. Like I believe if you guys,
But you
like,
still have to
if
send
TNT
people out.
Sure, you live in your space. Go defend it, motherfucker. Like that's the whole job. Like that's your job. Like
If you,
Yeah,
But
that's
I
fine
believe-
once in a
I
while,
believe
but like
if it was a
daily-
constellation
All right,
hold on,
you were
let's
defending,
let Graf talk,
it-
please.
if it was a constellation you were defending, your job would be significantly easier. Like instead of like, oh man, here's TNT, they hold half this region over here. Good luck fucking, keeping it all safe all the time, right? But if it was a singular constellation where you were able to easily jump from one system to the next and defend it from a central hub, like I mean, Horde can do this, and these guys, Horde is not. Goblins leads Horde, but he doesn't fucking hands-on day-to-day basis them. Those dudes defend their own space. They go out and form their own little like. These are dudes that have been playing for 6 to 8 weeks. I have a Horde mentee who I stopped from quitting Eve. I'm very proud of Khan, and
You,
he's
you saved
not
a
only-
life.
Yeah, he not only did
One
not
of the
quit,
few.
he now runs
Sorry, I had to
fleets.
take
Like
a jab.
he
I do
immediately
have
went
something to add
from
to this
wanting
when
to
you're
quit and like runs fleets and like they just grab dudes up. I mean, these dudes been playing for a month. They're like, let's go do a thing, and
Right.
it's easier because it's smaller and more compact. I think.
Right,
Yeah,
drunk,
that's
drunk.
fun and cute while you're
after
a new
this.
bro. That gets really boring real quick when you're the same 10, 15 guys. Like, I gotta go deal with this, even though it's only 2 jumps
because
away.
you're
I'm gonna
not
go
getting a
deal
fight
with it
because
every day.
they have to commit
every
nothing,
day.
so you weren't getting a fight
That's
ever.
burnout. And
Yeah.
after a while, you're just like, fuck it. I'm so done. I'm so bored. This is no longer fun and interesting. Like that's burnout. That's what burnout is, and that's what
I'll
gets
tell you
people
what.
to quit the game.
I do have
After-
a point for Grath though.
Yeah.
Yeah, go
All
ahead.
right, John, go ahead.
So with TNT, like we held way more space. That's not even in debate. But MOA was hitting the same constellation daily. So we were responding to the same like couple of systems or whatever like that. And even with us just holding that one constellation, that's really what we were dealing with. It was still just burning out the alliance. So we weren't getting hit in tribute. We were getting hit in pure blind daily. So yeah, we held too much space, but we weren't getting hit everywhere in that space. So we were technically just holding a constellation, and it was still too much over time. Like this was going on for months and months and months, and it just burnt people out to the point where we would ping to go form to go kill a MOA, whatever. Like thing anymore. So in that sense, like I really do think it's an attacker-based system. We weren't defending all of tribute. We were defending one constellation, and we just got so sick of it.
I'll tell
Was
you,
that
with this war-
was that the constellation that nobody lived in?
No. Hakawa lived there. That was his whole point of not deploying.
Was that the constellation that nobody lived in until a handful of people went to live there just because? Yeah,
Yeah, that was their.
it was the constellation that
out-
was separated from where everybody else lived in.
Yeah,
which
that
is
was their. That
right
was their
next
out
to
from
MOA.
deploying. Yeah, but that was their out from deploying was to sit there and like, bring up ADMs and stuff like that, and
It's
it never
not
happened.
about that. It's about the fact that that was a constellation that nobody was really living in to really do anything about, and it was right next to MOA. Of course, they're going to ring the doorbell on that constellation.
But that
I
we
just
weren't
feel like
we weren't the
I-
only
as an
situation where that
attacker-
was happening.
When I start my Entosis link up on your station and it says like fucking 40 some odd minutes to turn off one station service, I got a really fucking hard time feeling bad about you having 40 some odd minutes to respond to my threats of aggression.
But
get-
it wasn't you. It was
But
one
it's-
guy. It was one guy. You know, every alliance has these people who are just the guy who can mine for 12 hours a day, you know, or whatever. That guy, and he
Wow.
would just go spin it up, and as soon as someone went in system, burn off, cloak up, wait till you left, and spin it up again 10 minutes later. Like that.
Yeah.
That was the guy who did it, and
Yep.
there was no fighting him because he wouldn't fight you because he didn't have to. So
Yeah, and
like,
that's
I know
the trolling
after
you're
this,
dealing with.
after this war is over, like say we retake our old space, I won't be doing what we did before. Like we will have to come up with a new solution that doesn't involve holding
Why
a
would
sob
you
like we
booby
did
trap
before.
that guy?
Well, who knows? Maybe mines will make it back in the game, and you can start to set up booby traps. But to wrap up this this segment of the, because we're actually out of time, we're going to go. Thanks to Drunk Canadian, he's going to give us some of his streaming time, so we're going to go about 5-10 minutes longer. I did want to introduce like a different topic, and that is what. If you guys don't mind, do you guys have anything else you want to say on this?
No?
Because I'm sure we could go for a long
I
time.
can talk about anything forever.
I
if
know, I
give
know
me
you
enough
can.
time.
You're great that way. And the thing I wanted to get to was, what does this mean for? Because it wasn't covered in the news. What does this whole thing mean for Test? Because Test was trying to find their way back up to their northern area in Geminate. Was that right, Nystrik?
I wouldn't say that. I mean, we've always lived in Fountain. That's always been home. It's funny though to see Test. I think like 3 years ago now, we were like, let's go fuck around in Vale and Geminate. And we were like, why are we all doing this? So it's funny to see us living there now. I say us. I'm still not in Test. Why do I keep saying us?
Well, tell us your story actually, because you were in Test for a while when you were doing the meta show with Matani, right?
Yeah, I wasn't. Well, actually, I was in
Oh, no.
Test when I started writing for TMC. I started with just StarCraft stuff, non-E related things, because I didn't want to deal with the drama and Fallout, which actually didn't stop me from dealing with any of the drama and Fallout. But yeah, Test, when I joined, I think it was like 2011, so actually a lot longer than 2-3 years ago. Wow, my timelines are fucked. We were in Vale Geminate doing I couldn't even tell you what to this day, so it's just interesting to see that now we're living there, because back then, I don't know about now, but back then the moons and everything were super lucrative and it's worth a lot of money. That was back when like White Noise and Raiden lived there, by the way, so a long time ago.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. 2012, 11, I don't know.
Yeah, I think it was just the beginning of 2012, because I joined Test, I think December or January of 2012.
But Test eventually,
Adderall,
yeah.
I've got a
What?
theory on this, so just I wanted to throw that in
Please,
there whenever you
yeah.
were calling me. I've actually talked about this a bit before, and I was saying that I think Test came out sort of the best of all the groups that moved up north. And I was kind of hinting at this when I asked Strath if he was in the room when Declan. There's no way Darkness holds Declan unless PL and NC Dot live in the north forever, guarding them. Like unless they become the Guardians of the Galaxy, they will not be able to hold them. To hold Declan from Goonswarm and allies.
That's Darkness's coalition name, Guardian of the Galaxy, right?
Yeah.
Worst coalition
is it
name
really?
ever. Yeah, it's
Yeah, it is,
worst
it is.
ever.
I can't wait to shoot you,
Well,
Short. Come
Actually,
on.
I think Elise changed it to Dumpster Coalition, but
That was a while back.
yeah, that was just a political fight there. Anyway, Asher, you were saying?
So I think that whenever they were saying like who's going to move into this space, who's going to move into this space, like the guys who were like, hey, you guys should move into Declan Sword Dragon, that was really some political maneuvering for a guy, because it's pretty well known that a lot of people in the NBC don't like Sword Dragon. They set him up for the sucker punch. They put him in the space that is most likely to be retaken.
What's interesting is Sword Dragon was also the leader of the original Money Badger.
Honey Badger.
Honey Badger.
Honey Badger Coalition. Thank you.
Oh, that was fun.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, sent over to right Montoya's sinking ship and got a gigantic head.
It's funny
And
though,
then-
because it was more like a Test was like, hey, so we're gonna make this Honey Badger Coalition. We don't want to run it here. Take it.
so you've got all these people in Fade and Declan and Branch that are going to get steamrolled, in my opinion, after the sort of the breakup of the groups. Then you have Test, who moved into Vale, which is a long way away. They've got CO2 in between them, who we have a much bigger grudge with. But by the time the Eye of Sauron turns the Test, it'll be 8 months from now or some amount of time, a long time from now.
But that's almost worse, because like then we'll be the only ones. Like not we. Then Test will be the only ones left.
Test is a pretty strong group, and you know you get a little help through a wormhole. That's something like, and on top of that, you have to say, do we want to have a campaign where we're traveling, 30 jumps for several months to take that space from them, or is it just easier after we've had this whole long fight to let them keep the space that they have?
I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I think like just my guess is Mittens, is more gung ho on that than I am. But I'm happy to have Test over there. I used to like to go through a wormhole when they're in Wicked Creek and go fight them. Like they have a pretty good number of people. They'll form up if you come with a with 100. They'll form. Back then they would form 80, 90, 100. Now they'll form more. But the point is that they're a good person to have, sort of long enough away that they can't really mess with you directly, but close enough that you can send over your fun roams and that kind of thing. So I think Test came out the smartest on this. Darkness, Guardians of the Galaxy came out the dumbest, and I mean you would throw Horde in there, but I don't think Horde ever actually intended to hold Fade for any length of time.
But Test actually reconquered their, was it Testagram? So
that was a symbolic thing.
yeah, it was it's a constellation.
They don't own it anymore. Guardians of the Galaxy have it now.
Okay, so I see. All right, that's interesting. Okay, so we're in the last part of the show, and I just want to give you guys a little bit of time to discuss anything you want to discuss. Not discuss, but just, people call them shout-outs. I call them soapboxes. There's all kinds of different names for them, but if there's anything you want to talk about.
Closing comments.
Thank you. That's what we'll call it, closing comments. Thanks, Dirk.
Yeah, it's an original term. I just made it up.
Yeah, you're awesome.
Uh-huh.
Okay, well, you can go first.
I never have any. So
I know.
Thanks to the guests that came on. It was great having Asher here, Graf. These are both people that can talk at a very, very specific level of detail. So it's always great to have pros like them on. And also thanks for the listeners out there who were chatting up in chat. It's always good to have the interaction.
Oh, that's awesome. We'll go with Drunk Canadian next.
Yeah, thanks for Dirk mentioning me as a guest. That's great. I know he didn't, sarcasm, but no, it was good being here, and I enjoyed the convo. And again, yeah, thanks for all the listeners, and I hope that Grath and I can actually go roam around in our Marauders.
People can catch you streaming on TMC. In fact, you're going to stream right after the show, right?
Yeah, and when I'm not streaming here, I'm on my own channel because I'm sponsored by I1S, so no more Eve streaming on TMC.
Oh.
Yeah, that's a thing.
That's a thing.
Do you want to explain it?
Yeah, just anything
Really
Eve
self-explanatory.
related. Iron Bank doesn't want TMC guys, if you're a sponsor, to be streaming, which is funny because I didn't ever stream Eve on TMC anyway.
You did the night Drayden lost his freighter, though, didn't you?
That was the one time I did it, and I lost my
about
carrier.
that last night. Is this a real fucking thing that you can't, he's paying
Yes,
people
it's
not
real.
to stream on TV?
It's real.
It's
What
a
an
real
idiot.
thing.
Yeah.
They want to break the Empire,
We
remember?
can stream other
You know,
things. We just can't
you know what?
stream
I'm more
Eve.
mad at you for proving me fucking wrong. Last night, when Boat brought this is the dumbest thing in the entire world. Streamers are strong, independent women that don't need no man to tell them what to do. They wouldn't take no fucking money to be told where they can't
Yeah.
stream.
Nah, they're
Turns
all
out
whores.
you
Yeah,
did.
But-
wrong.
But I wasn't streaming Eve anyway, so I got money to stop doing what I wasn't doing.
Yeah.
And
That's
I
not
also
bad,
I did miss a shout out though. So Nate, the guy that's typing in local, he's another streamer. Same as Accessible Gamer, a disabled guy, and he does a lot of cool streaming too. And I gotta give a shout out to that guy. He's been really cool and promoting a lot of my streams.
That's
Man,
great.
shout out to all the people that told that guy to go fuck himself when he offered him money on where they could stream. And I say that as he's writing us checks, but fuck him anyway.
Well, apparently it's only as it relates to TMC.
It's an attack on TMC, in just to defund its, well, actually, I'll talk about it when we get to the end. But next, I want to go to Nystrick.
Okay. I had a really lot of fun hanging out with people and talking about Eve again. Even though I'm not sure I want to pick it up and start playing it again, I forgot that how interesting it is to talk about, especially with Grath and Asher, who are fascinating and fun to listen to, and I've had them on the Meta Show a few times, so it's nice to kind of talk with them again about that, and to all you guys. So thanks to you guys for letting me be here today.
Hey, nice trick. I wanted to say, have fun at the 1920s Flappers nightclub that you appear to be going to after this.
Oh, I don't go out. I don't know what you're talking about.
Actually, if you can in the chat, let Nystrick know it's nice to see her again on Eve Political Talk stuff.
And I'll be streaming, guys, tomorrow and Sunday, 1:30 to 3:30 EST. Tomorrow is Final Fantasy X. Sunday is League of Bad. That's Legends in brackets.
All right, Grath and then Asher.
Well, let's see. I don't really know. I got my buddy Heroku who's trying to die on me. That's not going to be cool if that happens. So let's hope he doesn't do that. I guess this dude was a four-con Marine, and went like to dive school and like all kinds of other stuff. Anyway, he jumped out of a plane in northern Afghanistan in 2008, and in a firefight that earned him a Bronze Star and a Purple Heart, took some rounds in his spleen, and like broke his back. And they did aggressive gene therapy, and it evidently caused enough cancer that he was able to sue the United States military for $10 million or some shit like that. Anyway, it caused cancer, and it's been really aggressive and fucking him up really bad. And I think he's going to probably go this weekend. So I would feel bad if I was somewhere public that didn't say something bye to him. So he's a good dude, and he gave pretty much everything for his country. So
Yeah, sorry to hear that. Is that a real life friend, or was that an EVE player?
no, he's just an E player. Snig's been helping him with his fight for like 5-6 years now. So
Yeah, sorry to hear that. Okay, Asher, I don't know if you can follow that, but try.
Yeah, I had a really lighthearted one to go with.
I'll finish it.
But also, well, actually, I did wanted to give a shout out to Snordog, who's a buddy of ours in Reavers, and his dad died in a car accident a couple of days ago, so he's going through a tough time. So I wanted to say, just say hi to him and that we're praying for him. And I wanted to say to any EVE casinos or whoever, I am not sponsored on my podcast. I am a whore. I will do whatever. Give me money. Thanks for having me on.
Bank. I'm sure he'll give you money.
Okay, well, we'll return to that subject. I'm sorry about the personal crises your friends are in. It's really sad. But I will bring it back to what we were just talking about, and we can finish right there with Iron Bank.
The death of integrity?
No, I don't know if it's a death of integrity. I think if you negotiate a high enough price, of course you'll take it. Who wouldn't?
Right.
Actually,
Robert Redford proved that a long time ago.
Actually, that's
In fact,
probably
what I'm
true.
already doing.
Yeah, I don't think we've had any streamers approach to play EVE a lot, and like they've been asked not to, or that they've taken it. So
Yeah.
Isn't Lad sponsored by EveBet or someone like that?
I want
It's
is
sponsored by IONS as well.
Okay.
yeah, I want
Yeah, you can be sponsored by them, and you can do shows, you can do games. You just can't do EVE related stuff. They want to be like solely so that when you're streaming, it's like IONS is the flag,
yeah.
which makes sense because they're trying to promote their gambling website.
I don't understand. But wait a minute. Promoting their website by making it so that you don't promote.
Yeah, I'm trying to
understand
put a
what you're
good
saying.
spin on it.
No.
Because I mean, if you could stream on TMC and do EVE, and then also have the IONS logo, which is fine on TMC, by the way, that's just more viewers seeing IONS and sending them more advertisement. I don't know why.
It sounds
It's
like
not
they're
like that.
making an end run on the. There's some people in that group who said that they would like to kill. Wasn't Vince who said he'd like to kill and the website? Someone like that.
Yeah, that's
So-
pervasive among the enemies is that there's this idea, and I've run into it, that TMC, the site, funds the Imperium because it makes so much money.
What?
Yeah,
It's actually the other way around.
yeah.
Or at least it was in the beginning for sure. Like I was there when it first started. I was one of its first writers for free.
yeah,
Yeah.
me
I always like to
too,
point that
for
out.
free.
For free. I wrote for free. Fuck all you to get paid now. I wrote about 14 articles for it. a long time ago.
Nobody gets paid for writing except ISK. Did you get ISK?
I didn't get anything. I didn't ask for anything. I just did it because
yeah.
I like to write
That's
that
just
kind
bad
of stuff.
negotiation tactics then.
Yeah,
We
maybe.
didn't start introducing ISK until a little after we started. 'Cause there just wasn't.
Yeah.
District, did I get into a fight with you over my article? Look, I wrote one of the last ones.
Oh,
I
we
wrote,
gotta go.
I
See you
handed
guys.
in- Okay.
I mean,
I would never fight you, Grath. I'm just throwing that out there. I know
Well,
better.
I wrote an article and I turned it in, and the editor that I put to, all my shit requires a lot of editing. Let's be honest, I spell like I'm 7, so it's fine. I give it to the
wasn't
editor,
me.
and they
I
hand
wasn't
it
an
back,
editor.
and they're like, "It's too much swearing," and I'm like,
No,
"What?"
I would never say that. I swear, like, do you fucking know me? I swear like a sailor.
Well, I think that's how the conversation went, something like that. Like he's like, "I need you to clean it up some." I'm like, "Who the fuck are you?" And it went sideways like that. I guess they had to take him aside and explain to him that my articles were quote colorful.
Yeah, that wasn't me. Don't worry.
oh,
I would have let it. I wouldn't have even questioned it.
That's like the Andy Rooney of TMC at the time.
well, nice trick, Grath. If you guys want to write, just let me know. We'll publish it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I still had an account. I don't know. All my shit's listed as blank space now, so it's cool.
I don't know what happened, but we'll the offer is there for and anybody who's listening to this podcast and watching us live. If you want to be a writer for TMC, or if you have something you want to submit, please submit it. We're not a closed shop. We don't only use Imperium writers. That's just the way it happens. If you even want to write about it, just let us know and submit.